Are we ready? Okay, we're ready. Are you a foodie? Or are you somebody who's really passionate about cooking? And have you ever thought of having your own cozy little cafe in a corner in Delhi? If yes, then this episode is definitely for you. And we have today with us Anshul Chaudhary sitting on the other side as somebody who is a legal technologist with a fair share of experience in the culinary industry. He's operated three kitchens in Delhi NCR,
Yeah.
consulted with over 100 more kitchens
Yeah.
in and
Probably.
around
Yeah.
Delhi.
Yeah.
And then we have Pragati Mitta with us, a lawyer turned chef who went to the Institute of Culinary Education and studied pastry and baking arts, and then trained with the Olive Group at Iqbal, and was also the chef of quality of research and development at Lopera.
Quality and research and development
Right.
at Lopera. Yes.
I stand corrected.
Hi.
Hi, and I'm Niharika, and I'm here hosting today's episode. So we're going to be talking about
भाई 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 लग गई पकड़ा गया पीते हुए माल भाई 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 लग गई गर्लफ्रेंड ने लिव इन से दिया निकाल सरकारी कानून ढुल्लों की मार लॉयर की फी और टैक्स से हलाल करा देना मामला adjourned
how is it actually like for somebody who has a passion for food or who has a passion for cooking and someone who always has this idea कि यार एक दिन तो कैफे खोलूंगा मैं या एक दिन तो मैं अपना रेस्टोरेंट
Bad idea.
Okay, the verdict was that was fast.
Like, please work in a commercial kitchen or get a sense
Yes.
of what it actually means
Okay.
before taking the leap and investing a
And
lot
work
of money.
And I'd say work at the lowest level. Like start from like being a service staff or something like that, or being a UT guy, somebody who does all the cleaning of the dishes
Okay,
and
let's
stuff.
first talk about what are the different categories that one can think of starting. You know, I can think of a restaurant, I can think of a cafe. Let's talk about what's the difference between the two. Let's talk about the boom in the businesses of, in the number of cloud kitchens that we have in Delhi, especially. So, what are the different business models that one might be thinking of or one can pursue?
I think Pragati can take this one.
I mean, there are several.
Okay.
It's easier to sort of categorize it as fine dining versus casual dining. That's more the standard categorization. So, in fine dining, I mean, as you can imagine, it's very refined. The food is of a very high quality, ideally. The presentation of the dishes is a certain way. The service is a certain kind. It's not a very casual form of service, like, in terms of uniforms and the way
Right.
they take it, etc.
Right.
And of course, the price reflects
course.
all of this in a fine dining setup. And then in casual dining, you have several options. You could do a cafe, a bistro, just call it a restaurant. There's a lot of ways you can categorize it. There's, of course, some minute differences. A cafe would be more centered around your beverages,
Right.
your coffee, your tea, etc. That is the idea behind a cafe.
Got it.
And what would separate it from the rest.
If I may add, like that's a subcategorization of dining outlets.
Of casual
Yeah.
dining.
And then there are outlets like food industry is broadly, if I may say, categorized into three formats. One is proper dining, like which has either a fine dine or a casual dine. Then there is just a cloud kitchen, which has absolutely no dining whatsoever. And then we have something that is very localized, which is called like the karobar scenes, the places which
Street
have,
food.
yeah,
Which is your place?
street food places which have a service staff but no tables, like which I think is the most prevalent and the most prevalent format out there right now for somebody who wants to open a kitchen in Delhi in a very like budget friendly manner.
And you've gone through that. You've gone down that road.
I've
yourself.
gone down all three of them. Like
Right. So let's talk about what is the industry like from both of you.
What is the industry like in what sense?
So I'm somebody who's just decided that okay, मेरे को अपना कैफे खोलना है. मैं बचपन में बेकिंग करती थी और अपने कॉलेज में बच्चों को अपने केक्स और कपकेक्स बेचती थी. So I'm thinking now I'll have a छोटू सा kiosk somewhere and I'm thinking I'd like to start that. So what would the industry be like for someone like me?
it's going to be brutal because like I mean you can't just like invest yourself in a business setup on the basis of a skill set that you have. First of all, like from my experience and everything, if you're like cooking inside the kitchen and trying to apply your skills in a business setup, you're automatically setting yourself up for like, if not a
Disaster?
failure or anything, you might be able to like make a break even financial decision at some time in the future. Surely not in the starting, but your life is definitely going to be really sad because you'll be caught inside the kitchen. You won't be able to meet anybody.
Okay.
The shifts will, on paper, be like 8 to 10 hours a day, but they'll be more like 20 hours a day.
And my weekends?
Are gone.
There are no weekends.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the food industry has no weekends. So to sort
The
of talk
weekend is
about
the peak
this,
time for you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So to talk about this slightly on a macro level,
Yeah.
restaurants are largely a loss-making enterprise.
Right.
Something like maybe 9 out of 10 restaurants
It's a 90%
close.
dropout rate
Yes.
in the first year.
Okay.
Right?
So what we saw after
So-
COVID was not something that happened only because of the pandemic. वो वैसे भी होता है.
Yes,
Yeah, it's-
absolutely. So COVID, of course, accelerated a lot of restaurants' demise.
Right.
But the fact is, most restaurants that do open close for a variety of reasons. And the quality of your food is just one small factor.
Very
There's
small.
so much. For example, your location is so important.
Right.
Your concept, your model,
Right.
whether you're doing a casual dining, fine dining, or like Anshul said, the
Right.
karo bar kind of setup. All of
Right.
that matters so much, whether you're serving liquor or not. Like there are several factors that go into whether you're a success or not. And honestly, there's no formula. There's nothing that
There's
you
no
can
success
say.
formula. There's
Not at
nothing-
all.
I differ over here. I think that the businesses which lack an idea in the first place are bound to fail, like whatsoever. Like,
Absolutely.
So conceptualization is the
Absolutely.
first step.
yeah, conceptualization also like is something that
And the
becomes like-
USP.
Yeah,
What sets
USP
you apart?
USP is again something that you will develop after you have like sort of identified that why I want to do this.
Right.
But most of the people क्या कर रहे हैं आज के टाइम पे? Okay, you know what, like मेरे को खाना बहुत अच्छा पसंद आता है. I'm a big foodie. You know what, पापा के 10 लाख रुपए लगाए, एक दो बंदे हायर करे, एक आएगा इंडियन हेड, एक आएगा तंदूर हेड.
Are we talking from experience here?
No, I
you're
did
not?
not
Okay.
invest that kind of money. 10 लाख रुपए नहीं थे मेरे ज़्यादा थे.
Yeah, I was like 10 लाख में क्या खुलता है आज के ज़माने में?
नहीं, I mean, that depends exactly like what kind of a setup you're going in. I have consulted for people who have like started their setups at 25,000 also, like a food cart, and
Sure.
then their revenue has been more than 50,000 a day, while they're making a margin of close to 33%.
Very
like,
cool.
So, like, I think that was brilliant on their part to be able to invest something so small, while we see some people really investing 4-5 crores in a property and then not even making sales worth of like 1 lakh or 2 lakh. And
Right.
ultimately, their burn rate is like, I don't know, like 6 lakhs a month, 7 lakhs a month, and that's nothing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
how challenging is it for a business, for somebody who's going into this business, the you know the licenses, the legal compliances? How hard is it to get past that step? Because I
Yeah,
think that
Niharika,
will be one of
academically and legally speaking, na, like the number of licenses that you have to take in order to basically dot the I's and cross the T's is endless.
Okay.
Because even like the government departments इतने सारे बने हुए हैं. FSI जो basically, so I'll first tell you what are the basic licenses that you
Right,
need.
let's start with the
Academically
FSI
speaking, I
license.
can't even do it. मतलब India इतना गंदा सीन है, Delhi जैसे जगह पे भी, that irrespective of whatever number of licenses you might have, कोई भी अगर सरकारी अधिकारी कोई department का आएगा, they will come from a department where you don't know jack about, and then they'll just try to find a place where they can take money. Like that's how it runs usually, and
Right.
this runs across the spectrum. मतलब एक रेडी
so
से
but see that is going to happen after your licensing work is done, right?
your licensing work is never done in the first place because वो होता ही नहीं है, irrespective of the fact कि तुम 5-star हो या तुम एक रेडी वाले हो.
Okay, so take me through the process of getting an FSAI.
हाँ, तो
license.
legally, basically, I'm gonna just like not even
Just run us through it.
I'm not even gonna consider कि legally क्या क्या चाहिए, but actually reality में क्या क्या basic चीजें चाहिए होती हैं. First, you need a FSAI license, which is the Food Safety and Security Authority of India का license.
Right.
It comes in 3 forms. One is a normal registration, then is a state license, then is a central license.
Right.
कौन सा apply करना है depends on the kind of turnover you have.
Turnover and the kind of business I'm opening उससे फर्क नहीं
नहीं,
पड़ता?
उससे फर्क नहीं पड़ता.
Okay.
It's just on the basis of the turnover you have.
Okay.
So ideally anybody who's starting can just start with a normal registration. 100 रुपए की खुद कर सकता है या कोई भी एजेंट 1000 रुपए की दे देगा आज के टाइम पे, and it comes within like 2 hours. Like you can get a certificate and the receipt मिल जाएगा, and within 7 days you will get the certification. Once you get the FSAI, then it depends what sort of model you're running. Ideally, you're also supposed to get a municipal body का. दिल्ली में चलता है health trade
The
license.
health and trade license.
बॉम्बे में
correct.
चलता है गुमस्ता.
Okay.
And similarly, अलग states के municipal laws जो होते हैं, उनका एक health trade license का format होता है, which the municipal body gives you.
Right.
Then comes the state police का. दिल्ली में दिल्ली police का registration चलता है,
Right.
which is the safety license, and it's mandatory.
Also, the parking license will also come flow
Parking
from the
license
police
is more
license.
generalized in the sense कि हर shop को चाहिए होता है आज के time पे.
So is that flowing from the shop and establishment license?
Yes.
Because that's a separate license altogether.
Yes, and it is also regulated by municipal body. मतलब MCD आज के time पे दिल्ली में it depends. Delhi is segregated into several zones. One comes under NDMC, एक आएगा MCD में,
Right.
एक आएगा DDA पे, एक आएगा LNDO पे. So depending upon who is the person regulating that part of the town.
आपकी प्रॉपर्टी किधर है उस पर डिपेंड
हाँ, वो उनके क्या charges हैं and whether that market even has a provision for parking in the first place. Like for example, you might go to Lajpat Nagar. The parking is very much by the SDMC if I'm not wrong over there.
Right.
So उनके हिसाब से parking है. So the people who have parking बाहर की तरफ have a different form, and people who might be on the other side of the market जो आता ही नहीं है market में, but it is something let's say encroached. So not only are they enjoying the benefits of not being in the market, but they also don't have to pay the taxes. So वहाँ पे कोई अगर kitchen खोलेगा तो these taxes don't apply.
Right.
But coming back to the point कि क्या क्या चाहिए होता है, फसाई चाहिए होता है जो मैंने बताया, MCD का लाइसेंस चाहिए
Health
होता
and
है,
trade.
दिल्ली पुलिस का चाहिए होता है,
Correct.
then there is a fire safety. Then
License,
on top of that, if you're running a commercial business, you have to have commercial वाला जो जितने भी principles apply करते हैं. For example, your electricity connection. I
Right.
believe that you cannot run under a domestic connection and do it. The
I
water
think,
connection.
If I'm not wrong, does that fall under the trade license, trade and health license?
No. So this all comes under the respective जो भी मतलब अगर दिल्ली में
Okay.
BSES राजधानी का एरिया है तो BSE राजधानी का कमर्शियल कनेक्शन चाहिए होगा और
Right.
उसके बिना कमर्शियल एक्टिविटी करोगे तो वही है मतलब 2 साल बाद फिर फटका लगेगा सीधा 3-4 लाख का.
Okay.
बट
That's quite a fatka.
हाँ बट द थिंग इज दैट लाइक ये सब मतलब एक वो है थ्योरी है. इन प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ लाइक इफ यू वांट टू रियली स्टार्ट समथिंग आई वुड एडवाइज दैट आई मीन एज अ POC also.
POC?
POC is a proof of concept for any business like that
Yeah.
you want to start with. Just don't think about the angle of, like setting up a business in the first place. First, like really focus on the idea that what is the personal thing that you're bringing to the table in the first place.
How are you
because,
different?
हाँ, because like what I see with people is like, okay, मेरी मम्मी बहुत अच्छा खाना बनाती है. You know what? I'm gonna just like get a food license and Zomato पे register करा देता हूँ. So when you open your Zomato, you will see like 1,000 different things. मम्मी के पराठे, रिया आंटी के पराठे, and like the list is endless because any place in Delhi you're sitting, इतने restaurants आ जाएंगे कि मतलब I don't think
it
anybody.
gets hard to choose, sometimes कि मुझे खाने का मन है पराठे, पर इतने जगह पराठे मिल रहे हैं और सबकी रेटिंग ठीक ठाक है, मैं कहाँ से मंगाऊँ?
I think वो मतलब with experience you get to learn कि what restaurant is a genuine one, which one has a manipulated rating, which one has a genuine low rating.
Right.
So it's very easy after like you've sort of cracked it कि मेरे को पता है कि मेरे को देखना है like if a shabby looking profile has like 4.5, 4.4 rating and when you go into the comment section and you see like majority of the reviews are 5-star rated and unke followers are going to thousands, like all of the reviews has that. So you can automatically guess कि Zomato algorithm को manipulate करा गया because what happens is that Zomato level 14 पे connoisseur title देता है.
Okay.
And when a level 14 foodie gives a review to a restaurant, in the Zomato algorithm, it has a higher value in comparison to somebody who's just like
lower than level 14.
हाँ तो
Yeah.
anybody who so this is an industry in itself कि आज के टाइम पे Zomato की रेटिंग तक बिकती है.
True.
Like बिकते हैं मतलब
I didn't know that. I literally like I don't order out as much and मैं तो सिर्फ मतलब fastest delivery and highest rating.
50 रुपए के हिसाब से फूड इन्फ्लुएंसर बिक रहे हैं आज के टाइम पे.
Absolutely.
Oh, we'll get to the
Absolutely.
influencer market
No,
shortly.
But anyway, so coming back to whether you should be looking to open a restaurant.
Yeah.
As he said, look first for what you're bringing unique to the table.
Right.
See if there's a gap in the market that you've identified that you feel you can fill.
Right.
And then see if what you're proposing is even commercially viable, because most just aren't. The food industry operates on absolute razor thin margins. So you need to figure out what you're bringing. Are you banking on volume? Are you looking at alcohol to subsidize your food? These are all considerations you have to take
So-
into account before starting.
So if I am starting, let's say a bistro, and I don't have a license to, and I think one needs a license in order to serve liquor as well, and uska alag.
सब चलेगा वैसे तो कालकाजी में हर कैफे दारू बेच रहा है, एक के पास भी लिकर लाइसेंस नहीं है. मैं खुद केसेस देखता हूँ उनके.
Okay.
जब उनको कोई लोकल पुलिस स्टेशन से एमएम से नोटिस आता है कि क्लोजर का, तो सब चल रहा है. ऐसा नहीं है कि कुछ इट्स समथिंग वेरी स्ट्रिक्ट, बट हाँ इट्स मोर लाइक अच्छा तुम पकड़े गए हो तो फटका बड़ा होने वाला है. मतलब द मोर द ग्रेविटी ऑफ समथिंग दैट यू गोना गेट कॉट विद. अगर दारू के लिए पकड़े गए हो तो हाँ मतलब 5 लाख के ऊपर ही लगेगा, चाहे कितना मर्जी मोल भाव कर लो. फसाए में फंसे हो तो फिर कंपैरेटिवली कम लगेगा. अगर एमसीडी हेल्थ ट्रेड में लग गए हो तो फिर लाख सवा लाख रुपए लगेगा.
Right. Even I think music, even if you wish to play music at your outlet, you need to get a license from the Phonographic Performance Limited, if I'm not wrong.
दैट इज देयर फॉर एस्टेब्लिशमेंट्स विच आर अंडर द रेडार. तो जो बड़ी बड़ी कैफेज होते हैं, 5-star डिस्क होते हैं, इनका थोड़ा रहता है कि दे हैव टू गेट ऑल दीज लाइसेंसेस फॉर देयर लीगल
But I think to be legally, for your outlet to be legally sound, everyone needs to, and you know, if you're playing music, if you need to get a license from this organization.
I don't think,
Practically hota ya nahi, that's
no,
a-
not practically. I think matlab I have very strong reservations with any against people who just like like don't think about what they want to do. And for them starting a food business is like honestly like acha dal mil rahi hai, roti mil rahi hai, and like that's a business. Like, or maybe they can make a sandwich or a burger. Like I can outrightly say majority of the sandwiches on Zomato they suck. The mayo is cheap as fuck. Like, because that's what sells right now.
Yeah.
You know, as Pragati pointed out, that the margins are thin, and in order to make those thin margins bade, what do you end up doing? You end up
Cost
compromising on the raw material. So the classes of
Absolutely.
materials that you can get, and I'm not saying like ढाबे वाले ये कर रहे होंगे. Like I'm talking about big brands right
Upscale.
now.
Oh.
Big
No,
brands
so
operating.
I have worked with really big brands which have very expensive dishes on their menu. Like their menu starts upwards of 700-800 rupees
Yeah.
per dish. And inside the kitchen, the quality of the ingredients they're using is so poor. Instead
Really?
of butter, they're using margarine. Instead of proper couverture chocolate, which is real chocolate, they're using compound chocolate. Instead of dairy whipping cream, they're using non-dairy tropolite or rich cream. These are all the ways you cut costs.
Okay.
It's also easier with your product. It gives you a product in an easier manner than using the good quality ingredients.
So are these brands which are established, or are these
Absolutely.
Big
I'm talking
brands.
about entrenched brands.
Okay.
So I now work as a consultant. And so I've come in contact with some kitchens where I've seen these kind of practices. And it's quite shocking how much they compromise. So I've also worked at a brand where they take such pride in the quality of ingredients they use.
Right.
And it shows in their
Right.
food. But I've also worked with brands which just cut costs. Either they adulterate, so
And that
they
shows as well,
bring
I'm
you the
sure.
flavor
Yeah.
of the high quality product, but the substance of the low quality product.
It's there.
Or some just do away with the high quality products. It's
The funny
just straight
part
up the
is
low.
majority of the consumers have sort of built like acquired the taste of all those cheap products.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah,
the
yeah.
difference is huge because like in dairy products, क्या चल रहा है? Amul is one of the high quality that people use. And the next substitute that kitchens, in order to cut costs, go to is Neutralite or Dualite. तो वो पड़ता है somewhere around 450 रुपए किलो.
Okay.
ये पड़ता है close to 120-130 rupees kg.
Oh, that's a
So
huge
the
difference for
difference is
an
huge.
industry जहाँ पे margin already कम है. So
Absolutely.
So would you recommend somebody who's new to the market to cut costs, to just be at par with their
I mean, honestly,
competitors, or-
I think it depends on your ethos, how
Right.
you want to position your business. Commercially, it obviously makes a lot of sense to just cut costs,
Yeah, because like
especially
you're
because,
saying,
like
that you're-
Anshul pointed out,
Yeah.
the end consumer most times can't even tell.
Yeah.
Like some of my friends have stopped going out and eating with me because I'm constantly pointing out the low quality ingredients, and it pisses them off because they're like, we can't enjoy our food when you're around, okay? But the thing is, they never realize it on their own. It takes a professional eye or somebody who's just very accustomed to it to be able to make out the difference.
So I think that's
So
that's
for
how
commercial
yeah.
viability, it makes sense to cut costs. But if that's not what you want to do, if that's not in your ethos, if you have more integrity in your product and you want to put out something high quality, then obviously like stick to your guns, price it accordingly. People who value high quality, whole ingredients, locally sourced, ethically sourced, that kind of thing, they will pay.
Right. Yeah.
As long
absolutely.
as they have the assurance that what they're eating
Right.
is not garbage.
Right.
And there's a growing consciousness, there's a growing market for this, especially in the metros. But I think it's even trickling down to like the tier 2 cities where people want food that they feel is real
Wholesome.
food.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that could be why I think, especially in Delhi or in the metro cities, I feel that there's this new segment of outlets which are selling food which they're claiming to be healthy. And there would be salads, there would be quinoa bowls and whatnot. And I remember in my last place of work, which was a law office, on some days when a colleague felt that okay, आज मैं कुछ healthy खाऊंगा या आज मैं कुछ healthy खाऊंगी, he would order a bowl of salads. And I'm still no expert on what's healthy and what's not, but just by looking at the dressing, I can tell that okay, this is just because it has grilled chicken and just because it has lettuce, that doesn't make that particular dish something extremely healthy and something that one should go for.
Yeah, I mean, Subway for that matter, like Ireland is classified that they can't call their bread for the reason that it contains so much sugar.
See, bread in itself contains maida, sugar, butter and whatnot.
Yeah, but
bread doesn't necessarily need sugar, butter, etc. This is something they do so that their product comes out a certain way.
Okay.
Right? It helps with longevity, it helps with softness, texture, etc.
Right.
But you have to take all of this with a pinch of salt. Since he mentioned Subway, so outlets like Subway, McDonald's, etc., which globally also sell salads, they have found that the calorific content of their salads is actually more than, say, their burger. Just through sheer calories.
Right.
So things can be so deceptive, The dressing of salads are one thing that you absolutely have to look out for. Another thing is, even with breads that are marketed as whole wheat bread, they'll use whole wheat, which is what? Atta, right? But atta will make up maybe 15% of the quantity of flour that's going in. The rest is maida, which is refined flour.
And the color brown.
That is brown bread. So that's more, your old school, your bread that comes sliced and all. When you see the brown color, run the other direction.
Okay.
But a lot of very high-end places also, boulangeries, bakeries, they do whole wheat bread, which is deceptive to the consumer.
All right.
Because they do use whole wheat, but it's only a certain percentage of their product.
Yeah. So if someone is thinking of, let's say, getting into the industry with a section of healthy foods, what are the things that they need to keep in mind? Because obviously,
honestly,
out there
you
are
can't
lots
just
of
enter any business with just an idea that I'm going to do healthy food. I mean, I think that is more like कि अच्छा मेरे को वकील बनना है तो एक काम करता हूँ चेम्बर ले लेता हूँ. Like it's as general as that. What are you doing?
Let me
I don't.
question.
Yeah,
That's
I don't
not my
completely
question.
agree.
My question is that, like she said, that अगर कोई आटा bread बेच रहा है, उसमें भी 15% ही आटा होता है, and that's just how it is. So if I want to, or if you want to get in the business of where you're just selling food which is healthier, calorie count आप देख रहे हो.
Healthier food.
I'm not. Let me finish first. So the thing is that how does one person who wants to get into business and sell something healthy, but there is a limitation. There are recipes which are going to limit them. How does one navigate through something like that?
I don't think that the recipes are going to limit them, for the reason that I differ on the fact that if I have to advise somebody, or even from a consultant point of view, I tell them ki nahi, sure, you can use a low quality ingredient, because I mean, in term pure business, either you're going to play the game on quantity or you're going to play the game on quality.
Right.
And it cannot be like you're just selling quality and quantity zero. Even that doesn't make sense. And at the same point, if you're selling a lot of quantity and zero quality, you're again heading towards a doom.
Right.
Which आज नहीं मरेगी, 6 महीने बाद मर जाएगी, and which has happened with a lot of reputed brands in the first place. Earlier, Delhi ka food scene was a lot of localized players used to play in their regions, and family businesses होते थे. But with generations passing away and newer generations adapting to these cost-cutting techniques, they have like really lost like a lot of money in the process.
Right.
So if you're using, let's say, this butter or maybe dead chicken in order to cut costs, you're resorting to quick fix.
the chicken sourcing. Let's talk about that. Whether I'm a restaurant or a cafe which is just going through the same route and is cutting costs and serving whatever that they need to, and they're doing what they need to, or I'm somebody who wants to put like high quality. I want to cater to a certain crowd in the
A
society.
niche
Yeah, a
crowd.
niche. But the raw materials are it's coming from the same spot.
Then you rake up the prices. As a delivery kitchen, I can, like, from personal experience as well as the experience that I have seen, Delhi people are more than happy to spend on food. You just have to give them the right fix. Honestly, matlab, being
No, but you're raking up the prices on the menu. But how do you get chicken which is better quality?
I'm a little less cynical than Anshul. So first answering your previous question about health food.
Yes, please.
And somebody who wants to open a business
Yeah.
with the idea that they want to serve food that's healthy, I think that's great. I would highly encourage anyone who has thought it through and knows that restaurants are loss-making enterprises,
Will
but
it be-
still want to
will it be
get into
appropriate
it.
to say like thought it through is like a necessary
Absolutely.
yeah.
Please, absolutely. So when I say think it through, I mean, generally, if you want to open any food establishment, please start with getting some experience. If you have never stepped foot in a commercial kitchen in your life, I do not recommend that you open a restaurant. Now, I'm not saying you go to culinary school, become a chef, or you work for years in a kitchen. Not at all. Even if you spend a few months in a commercial kitchen, take 2 months of your life and just go to a kitchen
And how
6
do
days
I,
a week, 12 hours a day.
How does one get access to such a commercial?
I mean, if you have no experience and
No
no
experience
absolutely
whatsoever,
nothing,
and
you
so
will go
far-
as an intern.
Right.
They will take you, they will make you peel vegetables, they
Right.
will give you grunt work.
Right.
But that's the kind of thing you need to do to be able to understand what goes on in a kitchen.
Okay, so I've been like hypothetically, let's talk about this person who today leaves her job and then decides that okay, fine, मैं अपना एक छोटा सा cute सा cafe खोलूंगी, and she's seen this episode. She knows that she has to go and work in a commercial kitchen, get a hang of what it's actually going to be like before she jumps into it. So how does she break into the industry? How does she find
So
that? How does she find that
honestly,
kitchen?
most big places
Yeah.
would look for somebody who has had some education, either hotel management or culinary school. But there are smaller establishments which don't necessarily look for that, or even bigger establishments that might make an exception based on your skill level, right?
Okay.
So if you're able to prove to them that you're someone who would be a worthy asset in their kitchen, you can just apply. Like big places have HR, small
Right.
places you could just approach the manager,
Right.
and you can
Directly.
try and get an in. Just
Yeah.
and
You can
and they'll
just-
try you out because they pay interns so little money, or a lot of internships are.
So it's just
are
another set of hands to peel.
exactly.
vegetables,
So
and
they'll
they're
be
like, "It's
they'll
fine,
be
dekh
happy
lete
to
hain."
have the help as long as you're not straight up destructive in their
Right.
kitchen.
Right.
They'll be happy to take you on, and you gain so much invaluable experience from it. So if you're looking to open a restaurant, period,
Right.
I would literally highly recommend that you start by getting a sense of what a commercial kitchen is, what it takes on a daily basis to run it. Obviously, you won't get a sense of what it means to run it because you are the lowest man on the totem pole.
Right.
But at least you know
You understand how it works.
what the environment is,
Yeah.
what it takes.
It's not कि आपको अपने फ्रिज से बटर निकाल के फिर उसको पिघला के फिर अंडे
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So you
it's
get a
gonna work
sense of,
differently.
the equipment involved, the
Yeah.
scale, everything, just the day-to-day operation. There's so much that happens behind those walls of the dining room that you just have no idea of as a customer. You just don't know what's happening behind the scenes. So it's very important to lift that curtain and get a look at it.
Right.
But coming to healthy food specifically, you can't cost cut and make healthy food. Those are two completely antithetical
Yeah, that's what-
concepts.
yeah.
You have to start by educating yourself for healthy food because our perception of healthy food is so skewed. We think if our food has a sugar substitute like agave or honey,
Right.
that makes it healthy.
Right.
That's wrong. Like sweet is sweet, is sweet.
Yeah, it's
okay.
still
Once
going
it
to break
goes
down
into
to-
your
yeah,
body,
it's gonna work the same way.
Absolutely. So
Even erythritol.
sorry, I don't know what that is. That a
is that?
synthetic sweetener?
Yeah.
Those come with their own problems, their own set of health issues.
Yeah.
So ideally, you want to use something like, say, dates.
Right.
Something that's a natural sweetener. It comes with its own nutrition, with its own fiber, etc.
Right.
So there's always trade-offs, you know. So you need to start by just doing a lot of research, reading a lot about it, getting familiar with the ingredients, because you want to use the best quality ingredients,
Right.
which are sourced properly in order to produce the healthiest food.
So I'm coming to sourcing now, which is what I was asking earlier about the chicken. That so I was told by somebody who's also in the business that Delhi में जहाँ chicken serve होता है वो सब गाजीपुर से आता है.
True.
And if that is true,
Yes.
how am I going to make my dish a little better and more upscale than what is being sold in a kiosk में जो
By
chicken
cutting
tandoori?
out the middleman. So if you
Okay.
want to source high quality ingredients, you don't source it from the mandi.
Okay.
You source it directly from the farmers.
Oh, right.
So now we have a new crop of farmers. Delhi has quite a few of these very upscale ones that, if not using the term organic, because organic legally has a lot of implications that people shy away from.
Right.
Essentially, they're cutting down on chemical additives. It's all very ethically grown animals or, crops that are grown using natural processes. They use heirloom seeds, that kind of thing. Like, they've reduced as much as possible the genetically modified aspect of it. So these are the kind of green flags you want to be on the lookout for. And just source directly from the farmer. And that way you know that the quality of vegetables or meat that you're getting is higher,
superior than
much, much more superior than what is available in the market.
there.
Like even something as simple as, say, a tomato. Tomatoes are supposed to have flavor.
yeah.
But the tomatoes you buy commercially in Delhi from any mandi, they taste like water.
Yeah.
They have absolutely no flavor to them.
Right.
That's
The hybrid
that's-
ones,
absolutely.
the tall, yeah.
Even the desi ones don't have the kind of flavor that they should. It's because they're all grown with chemicals. They've all been modified, So when you have an heirloom tomato that's grown in an organic way, you can feel the zameen asman ka difference between the two. So that kind of thing. So even if you put just raw tomatoes on your healthy salad, your
It's gonna make a
customer
sea
is
of
going to be
difference.
able to tell the
Yeah.
difference.
Right.
So
And as
Plus,
some-
I think like the mandi also is not like it's just low quality in the mandi. Mandi also has like several different types of suppliers.
Right.
Gazipur mandi also has like again similar different levels of suppliers which have a different rate altogether. So वहाँ पे मरा हुआ चिकन भी मिलता है which is basically something that is left over from पुराना या चिकन एक्चुअली मर गया था before उन्होंने हलाल किया. So that sells for somewhere around 80-90 rupees a kg.
Right.
But at the same point of time, you might be buying something fresh which is going to set you back by 220-230 rupees a kg or something.
Right.
So all of that is available in the mandi, and similarly for fruits and vegetables also. Like Delhi has two main mandis, एक ओखला मंडी हो गई और एक आज़ादपुर मंडी हो गई, which I think is supplying to majority of Delhi.
Yeah, Azadpur is the main source of most of the rest.
So similarly over there, I mean, the most important thing over there will be just don't finalize the first thing that you see, because again, mandi mein if you see the first thing that you see and you buy it from them, the supplier is gonna fuck with you real bad. 2-4 दिन तुम्हें fresh देके लगा देगा, तीसरे चौथे दिन it's back to the same story.
Oh,
And
Absolutely.
So how do you make sure that कि 3-4 दिन के बाद what you get
No,
is what you
every
wanted?
day when you receive a new supply of your vegetables, the chef has to check
Quality
all of
control.
them. And while the delivery man is still there, and then you send back anything that's problematic. This is something I've done at my kitchen several times.
Right.
We would send back. We would make a dish NA, not available.
You were managing all the 5 hot kitchens of Lopera when you were
Yes,
working
that's
there,
right. So these 5 kitchens were spread across Delhi. But all of our supplies still came from Azadpur, regardless of whether we were in Civil Lines or GK2 or Dwarka. And we were very strict about the quality. In fact, for some things like lettuce, which is very prone to bugs and worms and stuff like that, we switched to hydroponic.
Okay.
It was much more expensive, but actually when we looked at our yield, say we were buying something for 100 rupees a kilo versus 400 rupees a kilo, the amount that we were throwing away of the 100 rupee kilo one, it was working out to roughly the same.
Same goes with chicken also. I did the same thing for me. Like
That
I realized
you realize that if you get a better quality product, it's going
It's
to
far
less
more-
wastage and it's
because it's coming to me साफ होके आ रहा है, all the white stuff is like already not there. I have to cut less fat. So the number of portions that I can take out of, let's say, a 1 kg portion of 160 rupees and 220 rupees is like drastically different. Like अगर मैं एक 2 portion का खेल रहा हूँ तो sure I won't be able to see it. But अगर मेरा supply दिन के 50 किलो का है तो even like let's say if I'm able to save like 1/3 of a portion in 1 kg, even then that leaves me close
That's
to
yeah.
10 more portions.
That's a win for you. Yeah.
Yeah. And like when you're doing that kind of cost cutting, I think it plays really well for you. That I think it works exactly proportional. The higher your quality, the more benefit you're able to take out in terms of your margin, because the customer response is such. Like I have started a kitchen जिसमें मैं दाल मखनी 180 की बेचता था, and within a span of 4 months मैंने 900 रुपए की बेची है, which is not even the rate like at quite a lot of established restaurants right now. And what I've seen is that मेरा 180 का कस्टमर 900 रुपए देके भी खुश था, because उसको टेस्ट की इतनी अच्छी आदत लग गई थी. Though I was pretty much catering the highest rated Zomato restaurant in South Delhi for like 2-3 months. So I already had that customer base which knew that either it's over here or it's literally nowhere else. Like for that, you don't even get that kind of consistency in a 5-star or in a restaurant which is giving you the most expensive dal makhni.
So I have a question in my head now that you're talking about you giving us this dal makhni ka example. Like you guys said, ekdam shuru mein ki 9 out of 10 places will not work out if you are getting into the food industry. So by what point and how does one realize that okay, सही कर रहे हैं हम जो it's going in the right direction and we should keep going?
I mean, you
because
look-
I'm assuming कि concept एकदम clear है, you have your business idea is such that it's setting you apart from everybody else, and all of that clarity you have. So at what point you realize that अच्छा ठीक है, this is working
it's
out?
show me the money.
Okay.
It all comes down to your bottom line. Look at when you're breaking even. So within the first year, if you're breaking even, that's superb.
Is that on an average, if a business has to work out, it will break even in a year, या फिर ज़्यादा time लग सकता है?
Up to 2 years is
normal.
something I have seen. I don't know.
I
You're
mean,
more
with bigger
experienced in
establishments,
this.
I have very limited experience. But in smaller establishments, what I've seen is that if you're like really making a loss, like it's cutting you.
What is a really loss?
Like it's like your sale and your profit margin has a 50% rate.
Okay.
Like let's say you're making a loss of 50% of your cost on a daily. Let's say your burn is like you spend 2 lakhs a month, and on top of that you're making a 1 lakh loss on the utilities.
Right.
Then I think any business, be it like the most pathetic kitchen out there, can be turned into a profitable one within a span of a week. All it needs is that you need to be in that headspace that you should be ready to shut it down at that moment and like take a step back, reflect upon it.
कि ये शायद सही नहीं जा रहा है.
Huh, I've seen like great places going down and also pathetic places, because like when I was
Going up.
yeah, like this kitchen used to sell vada pav in East Delhi. I forgot the name, Lakshmi Nagar. And this guy was like really burning money. Like he had 5 chefs for a vada, just one outlet, and I had consulted for him कि तू कुछ मत बेच, तू बस एक बेच, because I go by the principle that in larger establishments it's an experience based thing, and in smaller establishment it's much more a product based thing.
Right.
So when it's a product based thing, the difference comes that depending upon your budget, you really can make it very easy for you to see that either you're going to focus on the experience, which will include the ambience, which will include the presentation, which will include the standardization. Standardization will matter in both the cases.
Right.
But if it's let's say a smaller establishment with a limited starting 8-10 lakh, 12 lakh, 15 lakh लगा रहा है आदमी, और एक कोई लाल डोरा एरिया में कैफे शुरू कर रहा है या कोई किचन रन कर रहा है, it's much more about the product what you're delivering, because nobody is coming there for experience.
Right.
And the
So
purchasing.
you're saying कि अगर establishment छोटी है, छोटा setup है, तो हम कम products रखें और उनकी quality पे
I
focus
advise just go with one like I have always advised that go with one product, one variation, and that's it. Like don't even bother about literally anything. And if you see like the trend in India, the establishments that have come up well are the ones that have started with a very limited menu.
Right.
You take up the biggest giant right now, Haldiram's had started with just a namkeen, and
Right.
later on when it had a critical mass to hit with its customer base, उसने
Chaat
hit करा,
kachori, chole
उसने
bhature.
diversify किया.
Right.
And now like when you go to Haldiram, the menu is so expansive that you can probably spend like 5-6 minutes just reading out loud the items. And similarly with other things, the establishments which like are working in a local scene, you go to South Delhi, you have these restaurants, Nagpal ke chole bhature, or you have Dolma Auntie momos. So you see like the items that they're catering to is very
It's just one specific
item.
product, and that's it. That's what they're known for.
And
Yeah.
that can then expand into a lot more. Like there are literally places, not just in Delhi, like all over the world, there are places that literally sell cookies.
Right.
2 or 3 varieties of cookies.
Yeah.
Or the place that I recently visited, Vietnam, they literally just sell pho. There's 3 varieties of pho. You can choose how well done your meat is.
Okay.
There's only that one meat,
Right.
the level of doneness, and your pho. And there's literally nothing else on the menu. And they have lines around the block to
'Cause
get
they're
in.
that- they're
And
that
it's
good.
also very cheap. So all they're banking on is sheer quantity.
Right.
And
And quality, I'm sure.
Absolutely. The quality was superb.
Right. Therefore, the lines.
But because they have such large volumes, they're able to afford to sell it for cheap.
Right. Right.
And
right.
they
That
had
makes
no
sense.
seating. We sat on tiny little plastic stools and stuff. So they're saving money on a lot of things, and they're
Right.
focusing on what matters the most, which is the product.
Yeah.
Product speaks. When you are giving a taste and assuring a minimum level of basic, like it shouldn't be like a watery, stupid curry that you're giving, which really like, and
Even if you're cutting costs, even if you're using material which is not, which would not be the highest in terms of quality, it still needs to be nice to eat at least because it's food.
I mean, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
you're trying to sell
Nobody
food that makes people happy.
Happy, yeah,
It
that's
shouldn't
true.
feel like drudgery, right? So, of
Absolutely.
course, taste is what matters the most.
Right.
But then the quality of ingredients, etc., also play a huge role in all of this.
Right. And I can tell क्या तुम लोगों ने बहुत clearly बोला है कि बहुत ही cutthroat industry है. अंदर घुसना है तो 10 चीजें सोच के घुसना है. Now let's talk about. So the pandemic was hard on I think almost every profession, and I can see like when I drive around in Delhi, there were places which used to exist and now they don't. So let's talk about how the pandemic has hit the food industry here.
It hit the food industry so badly. So I was very much a part of it. I was part of a huge establishment just when the pandemic hit. And like literally
Wow,
every
Anshu.
place,
No,
like
Can't stop.
I shut down in COVID 1, started again, shut down in COVID 2,
Oh,
then
damn.
started again, and
damn.
then I got defrauded. But I'm like,
my gosh.
COVID was like brutal.
Oh,
But
that sounds horrible.
It's terrible.
it was good in a way that matlab, at least it gave me the learning to be able to set up businesses for other people as a consultant only.
तो हम अपनी गलतियों से ही सीखते हैं.
Sure.
I sort of I committed the mistake, like I started with a huge ass menu from healthy food to like naans to kebabs and stuff, and like
Mistake 101.
So then the vada pav guy in Lakshmi Nagar happened after.
yeah, so by the time
After
I was setting
you
up my
learned all
third
these
kitchen,
lessons,
and I was in a place ki I knew the exact like code for at least I knew कि गई से बीती हालत में नुकसान नहीं झेलूंगा because अब बेच लूंगा. So by that time I had sufficient knowledge कि I knew the exact details. So all I needed was like 4 hours to do the entire thing because I wasn't really focusing on like giving the experience something. For me it was more about what is your personal story that you're bringing. 2, what location are you looking at. 3, what is your plan of reducing the number of people that you're going to have. 4,
Reducing the number of people मतलब your team.
हाँ, बिकॉज हर आदमी आज के टाइम पे सोचता है किचन स्टार्ट करनी है, 4 लोग उठा लो, एक सफाई कर देगा, एक नान लगा देगा, एक करी बना देगा, या इफ इट्स लाइक अ डिफरेंट कुजीन देन एक बंदा असेंबली करेगा अपने तुम्हारे बर्गर्स की, एक बंदा विल फोकस ऑन द रॉ मटेरियल्स एंड वन विल बी ऑन पैकिंग.
So how does it actually work in a professional kitchen? Like let's say I'm assembling there's burgers and there's pizza and there's pasta on the menu.
It's a typical continental.
Yeah. जहाँ भी
type
जाओगे
of
ये almost हर जगह
restaurant.
मिलेगा.
Sure.
So how does it work?
So you would have different stations. You would have a
Right.
cold station. Your pizza would be separate. So depending, a lot of places are also multi-cuisine, right? So you would
Right.
have an Asian section where they would have woks. Their burners are different. Their equipment is different.
Right.
You would have a tandoor. Their equipment is
So
different. You would have
the
conti.
wider your menu, the more investment you need to
Equipment.
make in the equipment.
And also have separate stations
Right.
for your staff. Like if you have one chef managing all of this, that's a recipe for disaster. So the wider your menu, definitely
need more
the larger
people.
your staff. And that's a
Right.
big mistake that a lot of people make.
Right.
I mean, it's such a cliche almost everywhere you go now. That's the kind of menu you get. But I feel like the places delivering actual quality experiences to you are the ones that
They have a
focus
specific-
on
yeah,
something.
absolutely.
If not a cuisine, at least they have a very clear concept.
Correct.
And you know that everything that's on their menu has been thought out. They haven't just added things to it for the sake of it. They're not pandering to their customers.
Right.
They're intelligently adding dishes to it that they think their customers would like.
Right. So if you like, I'm assuming that you've planned menus and you now that you're consulting with restaurants and cafes in Hyderabad as well as Delhi, what is an ideal way to plan a menu? Like if let's say someone is deciding that okay, मुझे एक बहुत अच्छी लोकेशन में जहाँ अच्छी मार्केट है, यहाँ बहुत लोग आते हैं, मैं यहाँ पे अपना एक बिस्ट्रो या कैफे खोलना
If
चाहता
you're
हूँ.
hitting a niche market, yes, a good market matters.
You know, like let's assume it's a kind of market जहाँ पे कॉलेज है बगल में, बहुत बच्चे आते हैं.
Then don't even think
That's,
about opening a bistro.
yeah.
Okay.
That would be a cafe where
That'll
your
be-
dishes are much cheaper.
Right, of course. It needs to
For
cater to the crowd.
to the college
Yeah,
crowd. Yeah. If you're opening something that's catering more to young professionals, people who have some purchasing power, disposable income, and say who have traveled around the world and want to eat the kind of food that they've experienced
Right.
abroad, then you would think of opening something along those lines.
And
Right.
accordingly, the food will also be like, it'll be finger food. It won't be something that you have to serve in a plate.
Right.
Or like, I mean,
Not
but,
necessarily.
yeah.
I usually advise like don't serve dal
कॉलेज
makhani
के
and-
कॉलेज के बच्चों को भी फ्राइज पसंद है, और हम लोग को भी फ्राइज पसंद है, guys.
Say Asian food is served on plates. It's not just finger food.
हाँ मतलब then it's like hitting that specific cuisine altogether कि मैं एक Chinese
Sure.
outlet
I mean,
खोलूँ.
so either you would want a specific concept in mind or a specific cuisine or one or
Right.
two cuisines. And I would highly recommend that you don't diversify too much. You don't try and do everything. You have some clear motive. What is it you want people to eat? And
Yeah.
you be very selective with the number of items on your menu. I have
what's an-
worked at places where they have 250 dishes on the menu. They have a large staff, sure. So their staff is able to churn out those dishes.
Right.
But when you have a menu that huge, your customer's confused. Just starting from the customer experience,
Oh, yeah,
okay?
I hate
You're
it.
putting in
Yeah.
front of them a menu that looks like a phone book.
Yes.
Nobody has the time to sit and flip through 250 dishes. So they're asking their server who's standing there, please recommend a dish. And these servers, I mean, they have their own set of tastes, you know. They
Yeah.
would have tasted food from the kitchen and, you know, maybe they want something more chatpata.
Yeah.
The servers, but whereas the customer doesn't necessarily
looking for
like
something
that.
more subtle.
But they'll just recommend what they like,
Right.
right? And so what I would see is even though the menu has 250 dishes, the same 7 or 8 dishes are flying out of the kitchen at a very high volume. And it's such a strange thing because you're trying to cater to varied tastes, but you have, you know, put yourself in a corner by making this absurdly large menu.
कि ये भी खा लो,
And,
ये भी खा लो, ये
and
भी
the
खा लो, ये भी खा
other
लो.
very big problem with a huge menu is it's simply not possible to do the preparation for every single dish every day.
Right.
It's absolutely just not plausible, right? So what you end up doing is you would do the mise en place, which is the preparation for the dishes, in a large batch
Okay.
and put it in the freezer.
Right.
And every day, a little bit of it comes out from the freezer to your low boy fridges. And then as and when the orders are flying out,
You
so
pull them out.
this is food that is stale. It is
Right.
not fresh food. So even if it was prepared with the best ingredients in the world,
It will not.
by the time
be
it's
the
come
best.
out of the freezer, typically, it has degraded a lot, right? So these are the problems that come with having a huge menu.
Yeah. Plus, like if you don't clean the kitchen, which I think is the norm right now, nobody cleans their kitchens. Like,
What does
Properly,
that even
properly.
mean?
No, like they don't.
I've never been inside a, but I'm scared now.
You should be.
Deep freezers. I
Yes.
don't think they ever get cleaned, irrespective of whatever establishment you're at.
And isn't
In majority of the cases.
I mean, yeah, I have worked at very high-end places where they absolutely do clean, but it's something that's like, that still needs to be put on them.
isn't this a requirement? FSI के requirements
It
नहीं है कि
absolutely
periodically
is.
deep freezer clean करना है, ये clean
In
करना है,
fact,
वो
the
clean करना है.
FSI needs you to maintain records
Yeah,
of
that's
your,
what I've
of
seen that
your
behind the bathroom
fridge,
doors and whatnot.
of the temperature of your fridges and freezers, because that's a huge aspect. Food safety.
Right.
is another completely different aspect of running a restaurant, which is so important, which most places flout. There are so many things. There's theory behind this that you absolutely have to practice. And on paper, everyone will have the paperwork to show fasai, okay? But it's not at all
In
practiced.
practice. Oh, that's scary.
So in terms of like expiry dates, in terms of how long food can be kept out at room temperature, food either needs to be stored below 4 degrees or heated above 60 degrees,
Right.
okay?
Right.
Most places will store it at room temperature for hours on end. It can safely be stored for 2 hours
Okay.
at room temperature.
And then it goes
After
bad.
that, it starts going bad.
Oh.
But we eat so much food
Yeah.
at home also
Yeah,
and at restaurants
Yeah.
that are kept in what is known as the danger zone
Okay.
for several hours. So these are all aspects you have to be so vigilant about. So even in terms of cleaning, a lot of places will look upar se saaf, okay? But when you
But-
really pull things out
Yeah.
and look
Yeah.
behind,
Yeah.
they are filthy. And this is at even the fanciest of places where the chef is, to his mind, making an effort to clean. You know, देख के तो सब साफ लग रहा है. Problem क्या है?
But when you have to open and like आगे की चीज़ हटा के पीछे
Absolutely.
देखना है.
Very easy.
Absolutely.
You just like put your finger inside the duct and like you can see it's like
Ah.
Yeah, or like the fryer, and so, like there are some
Oh
things
my
that are just
God.
Yeah.
perennial offenders, and then this kind of thing attracts pests. You have cockroaches, you have rats. There's no regulation for this. There's supposed
I mean,
to
there
be.
is regulation, but there's
There's
no
supposed to be,
implementation.
yeah.
Is what we
Yeah,
can safely
you-
say.
Masai is not
will
interested in
see-
all of this. The officers come like once in 2-3 months and they're
They
interested
have
in
a free
making quick
meal.
buck.
They have a free meal.
No,
They
no,
come.
Right.
मेरे पास आते
Absolutely.
थे तो मेरे को धमकी मिलती थी कि सैंपल लेके जाएंगे
Uh-huh.
एंड लाइक फॉर साई का आई हैड द एक्सपीरियंस दैट नॉट वन सैंपल हैज पास किसी का भी बिकॉज द क्वालिटी ऑफ इंग्रेडिएंट्स जो पीछे से ही मिलते हैं दे आर अडल्टरेटेड टू द एक्सटेंट दैट
Absolutely.
वो तुम्हारा कुछ भी प्रोडक्ट लेके चले जाएं इट्स गोना फेल द न्यूट्रिशनल स्टैंडर्ड्स
Well, do we remember what happened with Maggie?
Yes.
Maggie though is still like a packaged product that you're getting.
Despite that,
But-
despite the fact that it's a dry packaged
And it's a
ingredient, उसमें
huge
MSG इतना
international
high
com-
था. It's
No,
exactly.
MSG is a bit of a scam. The whole
Okay.
fight against MSG is born out of racism. There's a
Okay.
long story
Okay.
how in America the whole argument against MSG is literally born out of racism against Asian
Okay, let's
people.
hear it.
It's where they started associating. So some small studies were conducted where some correlation was found between MSG and headaches and stuff, right?
Okay.
And that was blown way out of proportion.
Right.
So our demonization of MSG is actually rooted in American racism,
Racism. Oh.
and has no basis in reality. MSG is actually something that's been demonized.
Okay.
It started in the 70s when an American study came out about some possible links between MSG and some adverse health effects. And it was a study that was either conducted on people who knew they were having MSG or rats. And
Okay.
that's what was used to perpetuate something called the Chinese restaurant syndrome, which is just purely American racism against Chinese people,
Okay.
which translated into racism against Chinese food, which demonized MSG. And unfortunately, that's just completely taken over the world. World over, Chinese restaurants are forced to put a no MSG tag on their menu. In fact, if you open Zomato right now, Zomato has included a tag on their restaurant saying no MSG. But this is so pointless because MSG, it's extracted from nature and it's something that's found naturally. It gives you the umami flavor to your food and it's found in tomatoes, Parmesan. Like, it's just unnecessarily demonized is what has happened,
Thank God we have
unfortunately.
Uncle Roger.
So
for it.
is
Like,
this is
if
this
Yes.
you know Uncle
is this
Roger.
also
Uncle
backed
Roger.
up? Is this also backed up by medical data? Or
So it's been debunked. These studies that were conducted now 50 years ago
Right.
have largely been debunked. And this is something that's been consumed for over a century in this form all over this huge continent of Asia.
and it was something
And
new
all
for
over
them.
the world, it's found in its natural state in things that we eat.
Right. But
So-
that is all right. But because of the demonization, we have the
Absolutely. And we don't even realize it. We don't realize that by saying my food has no MSG, we're being racist because that's its history.
okay.
No
that
shit.
We
is-
obviously
that is-
don't-
I've
that
never
is-
looked at like
Yeah.
that.
I didn't know that
treatment from that.
at all.
Absolutely. We think we're just like being health conscious.
Yeah, but we're
but
just
we don't
being really
realize.
nasty.
Yeah.
That is something.
Never ever thought like it would be racist. Like
I
that
know,
was probably
right?
last thing on my mind, to be honest.
But I would like to reel back to when Pragati was talking about कि menu का size बहुत बड़ा नहीं होना चाहिए. And your emotions at that time was it's like she was hitting every single point, and you were like, yes, I get that. So let's hear it from you about
That's
this.
just not a personal story, but that's something that I've also seen like everywhere.
What
because-
makes you feel so strongly about the fact कि menu concise or छोटा होना
because
चाहिए
it
और elaborate
diverts,
नहीं होना
it
चाहिए?
diverts you from being able to specialize in any particular item whatsoever, and at the end of the day, a customer is going to have a general okay, fine, averagely good experience, but nothing is going to like strike chords. And like, let's be fairly honest, that nobody today is going to a restaurant for the sole reason of eating okay food. Like, even if
Yeah,
they're
people
spending
want
like
good food.
50
Yeah.
$60 on like a roadside item, they will go to a particular spot because of the taste that they get. And if you see like the demography of Delhi, you will see that people go for specific food items to specific places. So like I was saying, like chole bhature
Bhature.
it's again like divided
Daulat ki
into like
chaat and-
Delhi. So like
Right.
every chola bhatura restaurant is not working. But when you enter like a place like Amar Colony or Lajpat Nagar, you see like shops by the I don't know, by the entire line will be like 5 or
Just
6
chole
bhatura
bhature.
joints, and only one will work.
Right.
So, but if you see like what all spots actually are making a profit in Delhi, it'll be Nagpal, it'll be Rajan ke chole bhature, it'll be the Sitaram, then it'll be
Right.
Radhe Sham, then some joint in Noida. So, the thing that you will see is that all these places are selling just one item.
And
And
they're-
similarly, it goes with like literally every food item you can pick off the top of your head. You'll be able to find the spot, and that spot will be doing well because of the sole reason that it's not focusing its attention on any other thing.
Right. It's just that one product, or it's the limitation that you've put on yourself that increases your output.
Yeah,
The quality of your-
I'm talking about in terms of at least a low budget setup.
Right, sure.
There is absolutely no point. Like
Right.
I just don't see the point of having 2 items on the menu or even 3 items on the menu, because even if it is like, let's say 2 items on the menu, it drastically changes your chances of like really establishing a multi-billion dollar business at the end of the day.
Right.
Irrespective, like you're selling Maggie and burger, I don't think you're gonna hit it. Either you have to sell a rendition of a burger which is like out of the world, amazing, people just,
Or
and
you
that's
could-
happened. You know why?
or-
Like I'm talking about this guy from Noida. Sold me a burger for 12,000 rupees, and I bought it. Like he flew in shrooms from Italy, like 2 days before like it was supposed to happen.
Okay.
Like he was supposed to eat it and things like that, and it was amazing. Like truffles the uske andar, again fresh. And fresh truffles is a delicacy. Like
Absolutely.
you don't get it in India, irrespective of whichever restaurant you go to. Like it'll be preserved in that truffle oil, and that's what
Okay.
you'll get even at the high-end restaurants, if I'm not wrong.
There's one place in Delhi that flies in fresh truffles very frequently, and so they
Is it
use
because of that startup जो Shark Tank पे आया था?
No. There's one restaurant, one Italian restaurant I know
Which
of.
one is it? Are you like not gonna name
Just
it?
not naming any names, whether I'm speaking positive or negative.
Off the camera,
That's
definitely.
smart.
I'd
Still
like
want to work in this food industry at the end of this talk.
And
But
still,
moving from smaller establishments on a lower budget to say upscale fine dining or upscale casual dining also, I feel like it benefits to have a certain focus, to have a cuisine or a concept in mind, and to have a tight menu. Now, a tight menu entirely depends on your capacity in terms of your kitchen size and your staff. For some, a tight menu could be 30 items. For a place that does reasonably well, has a good reputation, and has a certain niche crowd, I would say 70 to 80 dishes. It's something that's doable on a high quality level. But you move beyond that and you're just facing a lot of challenges.
Right.
Now, the problem with having a huge, expansive menu, apart from obvious lack of quality control, because it's not possible at that scale, another problem you get simply is that your food isn't fresh at that point. Because you cannot prepare that many items on a daily basis.
Right.
So what you're eating is frozen food that has been thawed that day or when you place the order and served to you, but it would have been prepared maybe 10 days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, there was this place which opened up in South X, 25 states or something. That was the name of the restaurant. And they had 25 items from every state on the menu. So it
from
was
25
Oh my
items
God.
from
Every
each
state.
Yes.
Oh my God. What is the math on that?
like 625
Good.
items. I think,
mine is really
roughly.
poor, so I'm not even attempting it.
And
But
I went there in order to check again, And
Oh my God.
one order took close to 2 hours because clearly the
Yeah.
kitchen was not organized
Slammed,
enough.
of course.
2, it wasn't good, like one bit.
Okay.
3, I mean, the place shut down in 6 months after a hole of close to 50 lakhs, like something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
I think like that's a good enough dent for anybody. Like,
Absolutely. Because even so this is from the customer's point of view, why you don't want to eat at a place with a huge menu. But from the business owner's point of view, when you have that huge a menu, you have all this inventory of yours. Like your money is
And
just
your
sitting in your
inventory is gonna
freezer.
go bad, nah. Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's
There's
not
so many
cheap.
things. I mean, we live in India. You can't
Yeah.
rely on the power. You can't rely on our freezers. You know, if you live in the city I live in, which is Noida, you have problems of having to fill gas in your fridge or freezer all the time. So these are things you can't rely on. So it's always obviously best to prepare your food fresh
Right,
because there's fewer external factors involved between the time of preparation and the time that it's eaten.
Served. Right.
yeah,
That's fair.
most definitely, I think.
But I think we have a new section that we should talk about. We should definitely talk about what are the practices that you guys have seen in your professional kitchens, which are dangerous, which somebody who's thinking about getting in the business should definitely be mindful of. कि ये होता है, जैसे हमने quality में cuts की बात करी कि in order to make sure that you have a better financial viability, you make some cuts on that aspect. So what are the other things that
In
you've
cloud
seen?
kitchens, I think especially like that is important because none of the customers can actually like
Yeah.
observe, even like smell like the kitchen is really bad. But if you really go to a kitchen, like I know the South Indian food restaurant Anna Dosa or something, turnover 80 lakhs or something like that per month, and profit margins are insane because again South Indian food being produced in bulk, so roughly 25-30% of like a food costing
If that.
yeah. So it's somewhere around that, and like if you see him cutting like his onions and stuff, like they're literally in the gutter. Like I'm talking like there's a sewage line going, and like so that's that's somebody who's making close to,
A lot
in
of
the
money.
worst case scenario, 40 lakhs a month in pure profits after deducting all costs and everything, like left.
हाँ मेरे
right,
कॉलेज के पीछे जो रोल्स मिलते थे उधर भी प्याज ऐसे ही कटते थे
Yep,
so
yep.
just
The
So I
samosas
think-
we got in our college,
Yeah.
they was crushed in the most unhygienic way imaginable.
Yeah, I think even if you go to the raw materials that are being used, like पहले वो चलता था ना कि like एक बार तुम मोमोज बनते हुए देख लो, like कहाँ से वो raw material आ रहा है, and there used to be this rumor कि ये तो होटल का सारा waste होता है जो process होके मोमोज में बन जाता है, and then they sell it for wholesale. जो मोमोज का आज के टाइम पे wholesale rate, majority of the momos stalls out there or even restaurants set up, they buy it in bulk.
Yeah.
And the rough costing is somewhere around 1 rupee 20 paisa for a non-veg momo and 80 paisa for a veg momo, like if you are buying in bulk.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you heat and serve it technically.
Yeah, but you just put it in the steamer and you steam it and you sell it like it's fresh. But at the end of the day, if you like go to like I'm talking like any food item and the raw materials being used over there, like in Chinese, if you see like how chow mein is made in all those factories around Faridabad, it's a mess. Like पैरों से कभी कभार तो इतना गंदा सीन है, पैरों से गूंद रहे होते हैं.
Atta for the
Yep.
oh my god.
Majority of the South Indian these South Indian food carts, रेडिया जो लग रही हैं, same scenario. Then soya chop, oh my god, like the smelliest thing that you can ever imagine.
Okay.
Dairy, butter, like I said, like Nutrilite is there as a substandard material, but then that is 120, and then like you have a substandard called Dualite, and Dualite is like 70 rupees a kg. So and
400 से हम 70
70
पे आ चुके हैं. So obviously there's
then
a
paneer has so many, like in today's by today's milk rates, if anybody is selling paneer to you lesser than 440 rupees a kg, there is no
Scam.
chance that like that paneer is pure because the milk rates don't allow that. The milk is close to 60 rupees, 65 rupees a liter, and I'm talking about like processed milk, which has already been diluted.
right.
You need close to 5 kgs of milk 1 kilo paneer बनाने के लिए, and when you have that kind of margin, 300 rupees is just milk cost, no additives, no labor, no gas
Nothing,
cost,
right.
none of the other expenses of setting up the
Packaging.
industry. So 300 plus close to 100 rupees will go if you're doing like pure quality stuff,
Right.
which involves like milking the cow, collecting all of it, ensuring that all of it is safe, processing it, adding soda or whatever you want to add.
That's a long
Then like then basically putting it all together and all your equipment cost. It's not possible, and which place right now is selling 440, 430 rupees a kg? None.
Okay.
Like not even Ananda is going to come to you and sell it to you at that price because you're not going to buy it.
Because it's not real paneer. But
Like you'll have cheese ball or probably like really good places selling it to at that price point. But like we aren't really doing that because our benchmark of what is standardized and what is good comes from like our childhood where all the brands that are there are Mother Dairy, Amul and all these places,
Okay.
which are also not doing justice. Like and like then you move on to like vegetables. I mean, sure, Mandi has all those places, but majority of the people aren't really concerned कि उनकी ये सब्जियां या फल कहाँ से आ रहे हैं. If you go to a mandi like sabzi mandi, mass mandi तो भूल ही जाओ गाजीपुर की, because that is something that you can't even handle. You'll just puke at the first instant because.
But isn't it vegetable and fruits? Why will I get put off by the sight of vegetables?
Because
No,
on a pile full
the
of
conditions in which it's being
on a
sold
pile
are
full
very
of onions, there'll be
unhygienic.
a dog who'll be peeing on those
On the
onions.
pyaz. Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, like that
that's
is
a
something that is like
great
not.
thought to have. Yeah.
They don't even like put anything under the vegetables. वो बस वहाँ पे छोड़ देते हैं. And I've been like regular to the.
So is it just the restaurants or the food industry that sources their vegetable from
Not
these
at
markets?
all.
But I think all of us
It's
get
all the food, any commercially bought
So
fruits
are-
and
are you
vegetables.
guys
So as
basically
long as
telling
you're not
us-
sourcing it from either the farmer directly or
Right.
like some organic.
Right.
There's a lot of companies in Delhi particularly that are sourcing and selling organic produce.
Right.
So the ones with more repute can
So
be
basically what I can
relied on.
safely say is कि हम सब बहुत ही खराब सब्जियां खरीद के भी खा रहे हैं और
Absolutely.
बाहर भी जा रहे हैं तो
not the
भी
people who are concerned about the supply chain end to end. मतलब
No,
वो
but
कि-
even
yeah.
that you can ensure at home.
Yeah.
The moment you're stepping out of your home to consume anything that has not been prepared from scratch by you, even the processed products you're buying in a packet.
Yeah.
The moment you step out of your home, you are putting yourself at risk.
Right.
That's just a fact of the matter.
right. So it is dangerous to eat now. That's
spices is another thing that like the quality standard is what like MDH like if you're using MDH you consider as good, but really like if you like buy some pure spices and like ensure that you know where it is coming from, it's grinded in front of you, there are no adulterants, and then you compare it with MDH, oh my god, like the amount of
Yeah.
coloring, the texture,
Yeah.
the aroma, it's just going to be drastically different.
That I've seen. I've
Absolutely.
seen how. So I was very used to घर की वो पिसी हुई हल्दी, and then I think when I moved out and I had my own kitchen to look at, I was like, ये हल्दी इतनी पीली क्यों है? And the color of the milk with that haldi was something.
Fluorescent.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't know उसमें से घी क्यों निकल आता था तेल में से हल्दी डालती थी मैं गरम होता था तो that's just strange. Like
Food coloring is something that is so prevalent
yeah,
in Delhi.
I feel that I think-
Everywhere.
Yeah.
The entire food industry.
I am very familiar with Delhi, and like food coloring, if you like put it on your hands and you try to wash it off with soap or
It won't,
detergent,
yeah.
it won't
Yeah.
wash off. Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
how like permanent it is on your skin.
But people I think are habituated to these colors.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean it's
Because I don't think you can sell a tandoori chicken if it does not
exact
look orange.
हाँ मतलब तुम नहीं बेचोगे तो the customer will come to you कि what is this nonsense, like why are you selling
Luckily.
me?
कुछ और बना के दे दिया और मुझे बोल रहे हैं तंदूरी chicken.
But there is a workaround that if you like genuinely want to introduce color to your curries, at least from what I know, is that there are ways that you derive color through spices only by making a rogan or by basic
Following a specific recipe
yes
which gives it
and
that color.
yeah, and I think all
No,
of
but
that
even Rogan uses a food color, a natural food color that has been banned.
no,
So
like, if you like so what I used to do is like I used to basically whatever color I wanted, that the color of the spice, or it's if I want yellow, then
sure, yellow, but like that bright Rogan color that doesn't come from spices.
it won't be as powerful as the synthetic food coloring that can be used as
No,
a holy,
so there's there's a
substitute.
natural food coloring called Ratan Jot,
Acha.
which is this. I believe it's a flour which is dried and then this is extracted, and that's like
Why was it banned though?
It has some health implications.
Oh.
So even
And where does
Rogan,
this
since he
particular flour
specifically
come from? Like
I
which part
believe
of the country?
Kashmir.
Oh, that's very interesting.
So even something like Rogan,
मैं
which
तो
you
अपने सामने
mentioned.
बनवाता था basically in refined oil
Mm-hmm.
or in sunflower oil I used to put in spices, and I used to basically cook it, and then like the color of the spices used to be there in the oil, and then, like,
But
that is
that's
used.
typically a brown,
Yeah.
orange, dark red.
It won't turn
You'll
the
never
dish
get
red.
that.
Yeah.
हाँ वो इतना powerful level का नहीं आएगा, but like
बिल्कुल.
on a minute
But
level.
see, the fact that we think that artificial colored wali dish is powerful is it says
is the
something.
default.
Yeah.
Is what
That's what is
we go
expected.
to.
So I don't think the problem
It's a
here is
shame.
with what's being made in the kitchen. It's what is being expected to come out of the kitchen.
I think one feeds into the other,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay.
Who started by selling red tandoori
So you
chicken?
set the bar
Yeah,
in that
and then
manner.
it's just a self-fulfilling prophecy because then
Yeah.
like
The
the
vibrance
industry
of the
has
food,
to
yeah, like,
the
really-
industry has to cater to that level. So
That's-
like you make butter chicken at home, for instance, and you eat it at a restaurant.
It's gonna look
and
very
you see
different,
like
yeah.
the vibrancy
Yeah.
of the color. Ghar ka butter chicken is a little faded
Yeah,
in color.
yeah.
Whereas what you eat outside is so bright because
Yeah.
that's what we expect.
That's true.
We won't pay.
Yeah,
if we're not getting
I
that.
remember being roasted by a bunch of my friends because I sent them a picture कि मैंने ये देखो chicken korma बनाया है, and they're like, that's not what it's supposed to look like because it was not bright red. And
It won't be at home.
tasted pretty good, but then
I'm sure.
the color was wrong, so they were like, oh. So I get what you where you
And
guys
these are all
coming
shit
from.
practices which were like there for quite some time. मतलब इनको बदलना ऐसा वाला सीन है
तो
that
कोई ऐसा entrepreneur है जिसके ethos allow नहीं करते या फिर you know like they feel that I'm here to set my ground straight.
I think
Absolutely.
higher
And not
entrepreneur-
pander
Yeah.
to their
That if I've decided
clientele.
that I will only use natural products or organic products, this is what I'm gonna just do that. And
exactly. I think you've hit the right spot.
so
with,
how does somebody like that go ahead without feeling that
No, that's
People
the
are
most
walking over
that's
me.
the most important thing, that as an entrepreneur, as somebody who's opening a business, what is your ethos or what are your values that you're bringing to the bill? Which I said that what is actually your personal idea that you're pitching to the business in order to make it your own. So I think if you're really so keen on starting a food business and you're so passionate, you won't really compromise upon the food items, on the idea. So like it won't be like you had an idea that you want to start the best burger joint in Delhi, and then you end up opening a pizza outlet because you thought that pizza
pizza
sell really
ज़्यादा
well.
चलेगा? हाँ.
So the compromise is something that shouldn't happen from day one. Like make it a grand.
I mean, I don't know if it's possible not to compromise. I
But
think you
to
need to
watch.
figure out where you're
Yeah,
drawing the line.
yeah.
Because everyone who opens with a certain idea in mind gets a reality check once they start seeing the numbers, right? Now it's up to you to decide how much you want to fall. To give you an example, in Hyderabad, there's a restaurant that opened last year, which is a tapas place. Okay. And it doesn't seem to have worked because people there are used to very spicy Indian food, and Spanish food is not
Doesn't
very
work.
spicy.
Right.
And maybe they didn't understand the concept of small plates, etc. So this year, they decided to compromise and change their menu a bit.
Okay.
What I would urge people in that position to do is maybe try and cater your dishes to the palate of the consumer.
Okay.
You know, maybe make changes to it without compromising too much on the integrity of the dish. Like in India, our pastas are more garlicky,
Right.
spicier.
Yeah.
That's a compromise on Italian cuisine. Then you have like tandoori chicken pasta and stuff.
Which
jo
is-
bikta hai,
हाँ.
which the way I like to call it is it's a bastardization of the food, right?
I'm with you. I'm
Now
with
what-
you on that completely.
Now-
yeah.
What has happened to this tapas place in Hyderabad is very sadly, this year they had to introduce tikka items to their Spanish menu.
Okay.
This is where I feel they were forced to compromise too
they
much.
had to give in. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, if I was in their position, I would probably just change the concept of my restaurant
Right.
and not still call it
Again.
a tapas bar,
Thank you.
which has tikka on the menu.
Yes.
Yeah. I think
Right?
that's
So that's the kind of compromise I would urge entrepreneurs to make.
right.
Or just rethink your idea, you know, adjust.
So I think it takes us back to the first step कि अगर आपको कुछ ऐसा start करना है in the food industry, it's your concept.
Yes.
And it's not just the concept of what you have in mind about the restaurant, it's also your future as a business. कि
The
आप क्या
stronger your
बेच रहे हो?
concept, the lesser the variables are going to play with you.
Right.
That's what I feel like.
Right.
But also check the commercial viability of that
Yeah.
concept.
Most,
I mean, somebody who's very passionate about something very obscure, you know, say some very specific cuisine from South America,
Right.
which they just think is the best and amazing.
But
I
that's
mean,
new,
you
yeah.
know for a fact that this will not work in, say, a tier 2 or tier 3
Right.
city where people just don't have the awareness, you know?
Right.
They're very conditioned to eating
But a
a certain
stupid
way.
rendition of that will definitely work, like a kullad pizza or something. So
Sure. I mean,
commercial
Something will
viability
come out of
points.
it. I don't know. I've seen like crazy things on the internet. Gulab jamun inside a paratha
Inside
and
okay, this I
Disturbing
blame
things.
on food bloggers.
Yes. So this is what
and
let's
not
talk about.
not the person who made it, because honestly I have seen instances of somebody who's selling, say, pani puri, okay, and is just making his classic pani puri,
Right.
and then some dumbass food blogger comes and says, ye lo bhaiya cold coffee dal do is pani puri mein, main video lungi.
Okay.
You know, that's where these really, really ridiculous, absurd
let's-
dishes are often born. Not always.
Okay. So you're saying that, of course, these dishes don't exist in our ecosystem naturally. They've been brought about by this new section of people who we are often referring to as content creators, influencers, bloggers. So I feel that people who fall in that category also often have this aspiration of, like starting their own business. So how about we explore ki ye kya category hai?
So
Or-
first-
First of all, it's
yeah.
very important to
Okay,
clarify
I did
that
not even
not
need
bloody
to
influencers, not at all bloggers, just bloody reel makers without any rhyme or reason.
I have
I'm
touched upon
making
here.
the opposite point.
Okay, sure.
He's sort of clubbing everyone into reel
No,
makers.
not the critiques. Like, I have great respect for people like Jigs Kalra or people like Pushpesh Pant who have, like, their knowledge about the food isn't restricted to aha,
Sure,
maza aa
but
gaya.
Jigs Kalra was never on Instagram. To come back to Instagram,
Okay, let's talk about that.
since he has decided to club them into reel makers, I want to actually take all the words you just mentioned and sort of create separate categories for each.
Yeah, that's kind of
Okay.
where I was headed.
So this is purely my assessment of the situation. This in no way is some like established practice of categorizing them. This is purely from my usage of Instagram as a layperson. What I've noticed is, I mean, they can all be to varying degrees influencers. That's more when it comes to you are influencing people's purchasing decisions. That's when you become an influencer. And that cuts across industries.
Right.
But if you want to talk specifically about food, what I've noticed by and large going by my Instagram feed is that I've come across 3 categories of people who post food pictures online, simply, okay, who post it on a regular basis. So to start from the most basic, you have food bloggers,
Right.
okay? Now, this can literally be somebody who knows nothing specific about food. They eat food, they enjoy it, and they want to share it,
Right.
okay? So all they do is they take their phone or their professional camera and they eat out. They eat at street food joints, they eat at casual dining restaurants, they eat at fine dining restaurants, and they take photos. We can argue about the quality of photos. Some are very basic, but some put a lot of thought into their
Right,
photos.
right.
And then they'll tag the place or mention where it's from, talk about the dish. Some might even give a review of the
Yeah.
dish or the place. But all they're doing is photographing what somebody else has made
Right.
and talking about it, okay? This, I would say, is the most common. And this also has a very huge following. There's a lot of people who swear by some food bloggers saying this person's recommendations are always good.
Oh, really?
There are some.
Okay.
They're a very, very, very tiny minority, I would say,
Okay.
because most people just indiscriminately eat wherever, and more importantly, eat free meals wherever, you know, because once you have a certain following, restaurants will start calling you over, giving you a free meal and
They want
expecting
you
you to
to-
promote the heck
right.
out of them.
Or sometimes 50 rupees for one influencer.
Sure. So that's the most basic level, food bloggers. Then let's come to content creators. Now, these, I feel, again, this is just my definition of content creators, because technically even food bloggers are creating content.
Right.
But what I
But
feel...
they're not creating the content which is part of the content.
Exactly. So here I'm not calling the photos and videos content. I'm talking about what's in them,
Right,
the
right.
content. So content creators to me are people who are making the food
Right.
that they are
That
then
is being
posting about.
photographed, yeah.
So they could be at any level of proficiency. They could literally have started cooking 2 months ago and they're so excited about it. They're documenting their journey, right? All of these are content creators and they're
Right.
all valid
Right.
in their own place. Some will post recipes, some will just talk about their experiences, some like to document their fails. It's all great, and these also amass huge followings and become influencers in
Right.
the way that we talked about it.
Right. Yeah.
Now, in this, I feel there's a little more knowledge there's a little more expertise than just food bloggers.
They're coming from a place of experience.
Because they're actually making the effort of creating food, of actually cooking. Because food bloggers might not know at all how to like do
kya
anything
hai,
beyond
kaise
boil
banate
water,
hain,
you know,
right,
because
yeah.
there are people who are enjoying the food that we know of.
Right.
But content creators, at least you can tell, food content creators, you can tell that they're the ones cooking or they're involved somehow in the cooking process. Even if, say, someone's creating the content of their mom cooking, that's still a content creator, but they're involved in the process, right? Now, in this also, there's, of course, varying levels. There's people who are bailing out half-baked knowledge. They have barely any expertise, but they're still pumping out videos. And then there's those who are coming from a place of a lot of knowledge and experience, which is great. They're putting out super high-quality stuff.
Right.
And then the third category of food Instagrammers that I've seen are straight up like professionals, chefs or restaurateurs or whatever, who are doing this on a daily basis.
It's their bread and butter.
And either the content is just by the way, like they're just documenting their daily lives, or they're also focusing on creating content parallelly to what they're doing in their kitchens, in their restaurants.
Setting an identity, finding
Sure,
a place
just
for themselves.
raising your profile, or
Right.
Instagram's a great way to network in the community. So just that
and
kind of
advertise
thing.
in
Sure,
in so many
absolutely,
ways, yeah.
absolutely. So these are broadly the three categories that I've come across, and this is sort of my take on them. So what he was talking about earlier about like food critics, I would put them in that third category, right? Like they know what they're talking about. There are food critics who don't know how to cook, but they know their food inside and out. They know food theory or history, or they've traveled extensively. They are still people who absolutely should be listened to. It depends on whether you agree with that specific opinion or not. That's completely subjective. But these are people who are coming from a lot of knowledge.
Right.
And that deserves to be respected more than people who are simply just putting up photos.
So I'll give you an example. I was in Rishikesh last month and I visited a cafe जिसके menu पे एक particular picture बनी हुई थी of a plate of nachos. So this cafe was overlooking the river. So there's a plate of nachos and then it's clearly a picture of
Ganga view.
Yeah, with the Ganga view. And apparently this cafe was this another hole in the wall cafe. उसकी entry दिखेगी नहीं तो miss कर दोगे उसको.
Freedom Cafe.
No. How do you not miss उसकी entry? But anywho, so this particular
Freedom Cafe shift हो गया ना, वो आगे नीचे की तरफ चला
मैं
गया.
नहीं गई Freedom Cafe के अंदर, but then yes, it's not. You can't miss it. Like Freedom Cafe, anyway, that's besides the point. So this particular cafe, it people probably didn't know about it. And then one of these influencers who just take pictures of what they eat, बस उन्होंने order किया, ऐसे nachos को नदी के सामने लगाया, photo click करी, and they posted it on the internet. And now everybody in Rishikesh who's going there and is if you look up cafes overlooking Ganga view, this cafe will appear. It is after this particular post by this particular content creator. So maybe they have
Or
a place.
food blogger.
Food bloggers, yeah.
I mean, we don't know.
Yeah. So maybe, like in today's social
Of
media
course.
time, there is space for
Absolutely.
all these categories
There
to
is
exist.
absolutely place for them. Their existence is valid.
Right.
Yep.
I'm just saying,
I
be
get-
more discerning with the
Yeah.
kind of content you're consuming,
Yeah.
is all I would urge people.
Right.
Don't repeat a Baba ka dhaba scene.
Oh,
Like,
yes, yeah. Oh.
yeah, like I think I'm broadly like in agreement of like the categorization of food critics and food bloggers that you've told about, and I think we should like shoot the first two and like
No, I don't agree there.
I
See, that's
at all.
exactly what I was talking about with
See,
respect to this cafe. That
exactly. So like you see, like when you don't know jack about food, like I'm sorry, like but like I strongly disagree that when you don't know jack about like the ingredients, the food, the taste, or the cooking processes, you're ultimately not doing anything, but you're just in some way or form reproducing something that's already like a
No,
part
but
of somebody else.
why not? Like you ate something, you were excited about it, you took a photo of it, you want to share it on
you share
social
it.
media
Yeah,
with your
see,
friends and
from-
followers.
from a-
Why is that not valid?
That is valid from a point of recreation as a form of lifestyle, but somebody.
but see, maybe the
identifying-
lifestyle does not resonate with you.
Or maybe they started making money from it, you
Yeah.
know? Once they started making money and they decided to turn this hobby into a profession,
Yeah.
who are you to tell them that it's not valid?
Because
I know,
it's
but
working
I'm
out
just
both ways. In some cases, it's working out for the restaurant जहाँ वो खाना खा रहे हैं. It's working out for them. They may be getting a free meal. They may be getting remunerated in other ways. But I feel that हम भी तो देख ही रहे हैं ना, मतलब
Absolutely.
individually some
Yeah.
of us can choose to not look at that kind of
Yeah.
content, but it exists because there's a demand.
Absolutely.
And I think that definitely has so many repercussions that हम identify नहीं करते हैं कि most of us are so bent on.
Oh,
you
I
know,
have definitely been to so many cafes क्योंकि मैंने पढ़ा था कि ये अच्छा कैफे है और खाना इतना खराब.
Yep.
I mean, like,
Yep,
or
yep.
it's become so popular because of these influencers that you can't get in or you have to wait for hours before.
Yeah, the reality of the influencer industry is just appalling. And like, I mean,
And when you're getting a free meal,
You would
how
say
do you?
nice things.
Yeah, your review. I mean, even if you declare it, a lot of them do declare that they were invited or this
is
is
a
for
paid-
free or
right.
whatever. But at the end of the day, you would suspect, right, the credibility. There are some who have been so brutal in their honesty that they'll tag places and say this was garbage. They've managed to build some kind of reputation for themselves that people find them
They value the-
trustworthy,
what
right?
they're-
Credible.
yeah.
Yeah.
But most,
I got a free month supply of coffee from and I was so happy because like it was one of the most highly rated restaurants on Swiggy, and I posted a fucking brutal review that what shit coffee are you serving, and it was really expensive, like 800-900 rupees for a coffee. And
So why did the subscription make you happy then?
because it made me happy from the point that every time I was taking coffee from them, I had a review for them, and I had a review for them.
so how does this make you different from food bloggers who are posting? They are posting on social media. You're posting on Swiggy.
Yeah.
At
No,
the
and
end
I
of
wasn't
the
posting
day,
on Swiggy. I was posting from my personal profile. But at the end of the day, like I had a great deal of detail to what I expected, what it is supposed to be, what is wrong on their part, and what they should do. And it wasn't like my review was posted as at the first instant. I had called the manager, I had called the owner, I had talked to the chef, and after talking to all three of them and receiving an unapologetic reply about the food, I was straight up like, if you're not going to do it, I'm sorry, but I honestly do care about good food and good ingredients and good taste more than you might about your food. I do, and that's why it wasn't for me about getting free coffee. It's more about the fact that I don't want to tolerate badly prepared food from anybody.
So
I
did
mean-
you feel that the quality got better ever since you brought it up with them?
It-
Specifically for you, maybe?
by maybe a small margin it did, but at the end of the day, the influencer industry has contaminated a lot of aspects of how a food critic used to run. Earlier, being a food critic was not just something that anybody who can taste anything and a pastry socialite can do it. Like even the most basic of food critics, like which were considered quite basic like 10-15 years ago, or Sohail said, they weren't food critics, but they were really good with being able to identify what a palate is supposed to be like. And
like I've seen a huge effect of the food influencer industry on restaurants, which is in recent years, the complete focus has been on how Instagrammable is your restaurant, is your food, right?
The food and the restaurant.
Absolutely.
And the menu.
The ambience, all
Yeah.
of that is what is being given a lot of importance, which is great, but it's so often at the expense of the food, because what these influencers will do is they'll go to a place, they'll document it very beautifully, regardless of how the food tastes, right? They will
Right, because-
promote it
see, because I think
visually.
now it's come to a point where it's not just the food that you're selling, the whole experience.
Absolutely. No,
and-
you have always been selling the whole experience. But
Right.
now people have easy access to content about that experience. Earlier, they would read some 1 or 2 reviews that have come out about that restaurant.
Right.
You won't even see photos of the restaurant. You won't see the menu.
Yeah.
Maybe if they have a delivery menu, you'd see
That
the
is
menu.
true. Now,
But
every
now,
time I decide to go
everything
anywhere-
about that restaurant
Yeah.
is accessible to you.
Yeah.
You can see the menu, you can see the delivery menu, whether they serve alcohol, what's their ambience, what are their hours, do they have happy hour. You have access to everything, right?
Yeah.
And through these influencers, you feel like you're getting an in-depth look.
Yeah.
So many restaurants are just focusing on that aspect.
Catering to these guys.
And they're not catering to these guys, focusing on
these
them
aspects.
making the restaurant look good through their
Right.
content.
Right.
And that then, translating to their customer, that so often food is a casualty of that. And it's so sad because you go to places that are stunning, absolutely beautifully done up.
And located
They're giving
beautifully.
they're giving you a great experience in terms of their service, but then you taste the food and it is so average. They have those 200 dish long menus. They're serving tandoori, Chinese, Mexican, pasta, Mediterranean,
Everything under the sun.
burgers, everything on one menu. And there's no imagination, there's no thought that has gone into the food. That's an afterthought. Pehle, we will have a beautiful Instagrammable restaurant.
Yeah.
खाने का देख
उसके
लेंगे.
बाद खाने के उसके बाद सोचेंगे. So I think
That's such a
therefore goes the
wrong
essence of-
approach.
yeah.
That is
Funny story
so
that never
skewed.
really works like in any form whatsoever.
No,
like
no.
it doesn't.
There are a
I
lot
think
of
it
places
works.
that, yeah, I live in a city now, Hyderabad, which is full of basically this restaurant replicated 200 times in the most fanciest parts of Hyderabad, and they're making money. They'll sell their alcohol and make money. People are ordering some 2-3 dishes. They'll photograph it. They might never go back there, but there's
Right.
so many people that they're making enough money.
Right,
They're
right.
creating a space for them to hang out with their friends.
Yes, temporary rushes for sure, but in the long run, I think
That's
they
the food culture in Hyderabad at the moment, is just highly Instagrammable places with gigantic menus with mostly average food, and they are making money.
I
I
think
think-
I'd
I
say
think
that
I'm
about
also,
Delhi also, but at the same point of time when I identify, like, give them time and like these places die down. Happened with
No, but you know, like she's not talking about Delhi. She's talking about Hyderabad, and I will agree with her. मैंने भी अभी different tier 2 cities में when I spent a significant amount of time in 2020 and 2021, and I've seen this that the cafes are beautiful. You would not expect them to be where they are. कि ये residential colony के अंदर अचानक से ऐसा cafe है कि एक tea cup set ऊपर like it's just wacky and it's beautiful and it catches your attention and that's what it does. But menu में सब कुछ है, kebab भी है, burger भी है, pizza भी है, सब कुछ है,
And it's all just mediocre.
yeah, nothing tastes great क्योंकि everything is just बस बनाने के लिए just because menu में डाला था.
Yeah.
So we have
And
to serve
variety
it.
देनी है लोगों को.
हाँ.
एक ही टेबल पे बंदा वहाँ पे चाउमीन खा रहा है, वहाँ पे पिज्जा खा रहा है. Like they want to cater to everyone. That's where we come back to pandering.
Right.
Here they are pandering and there's no original thought behind it. But I'm blaming Instagram for pulling their focus entirely on making it an Instagrammable
Right,
experience.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
and that doesn't go well with me for sure because
Yeah.
I am very, very, very particular about what I'm
What
getting
you
out
eat.
of anything. Like I end up writing like crazy ass reviews, and sometimes I've spent like nights with owners where I order food from randomly on Zomato, and I was like, I did not find this. Something is wrong with you.
Wow,
And
you are passionate about your food.
Yeah.
I think food is something that's not really a matter of necessity anymore, and
What?
I mean,
I'm sorry,
How
but
is
I would
food
just
not
like
a
to,
necessity? I don't
in
understand.
terms of-
Food is a
terms-
source of energy in our body.
Exactly. So
We function because we eat.
So again, when you're ordering from a restaurant, in most of the cases, it will not be because you're eating food as a form of a basic
Sustenance?
necessity. No, no, you might be ordering from, let's say, Keto Nest or maybe.
No,
one of
even if you're eating unhealthy food, maybe you just don't have a choice. You don't have a kitchen at home,
Yeah.
or
Yes.
You have to
nobody
eat,
at
yeah.
home is able to cook or whatever. So
Yeah,
it's a necessity.
That is
It's a
okay.
form of sustenance.
Yeah, but let's say I meant like in the manner that when you order food from outside, there's you're not bound by like when you're cooking food at home, there's a limited set of ingredients that you have at home, and you're supposed to like adjust to it. But when you open an app, like the number of options are like insane. So if somebody is really serving what happened?
My phone rang.
Oh.
Somebody is really serving.
Yeah, so when somebody is serving like substandard food, not even giving the taste, not even providing with any additional value, like I'm okay if food doesn't taste good, but it's incredibly healthy and gives you all the fiber or gives you all the protein or whatever you require at that point of time, I'm happy with that. But if it's
But how is food not important anymore? I'm not able to
No,
understand.
sorry. How
food
does
is-
this tie into
Yeah.
him very passionately sitting with
Yeah.
yeah,
restaurateurs?
so if
and-
it's not really serving any purpose, nor the nutrition, nor the taste, it really isn't serving any purpose, and
Yeah,
I don't
agreed.
think with the number of options out there, if somebody is like not even able to fulfill these two basic conditions, I really don't think that I want to eat anymore. Like we have crazy amount of innovations happening in the food space also. Like in Delhi also, I think the delivery market, the way it has innovated itself,
Yeah.
has gone insane from things being normally packed in a paper bag being considered as the most premier form of food delivery packaging, to now like customized boxes coming in, inside which you will have a clay plate on which
Yeah.
there's a banana leaf, on which, so like the part of like experiencing food not just through like
Even through
looking at
delivery.
it.
Or another extreme of this, which is where now you're getting your pizza delivered to you literally fresh out of the oven 30
Yeah.
seconds ago, because it's being baked while it's on its way to your house in a pizza van.
Wow.
Like
Yeah.
that's how insane our delivery scene
Wow.
has gotten in Delhi. It's superb.
That is something.
Yeah.
But so when it comes to my experience of eating out and having unpleasant experiences, though, I'm on the other end of the spectrum, I feel. I don't post review. Ever since I joined the food industry, I have stopped posting any kind of negative reviews on Zomato, Swiggy, etc.
Okay.
Because I know what the cost is of especially these aggregators.
Okay.
I might reach out to them on Instagram privately
30%
or
and
etc.
they don't do customer support really well. Like
No, but I'm talking about how it impacts their business, because
Right.
having been in the food industry, I understand that everyone has off days.
Right.
You have some staffing issues, something. So I always like to give
The
a
benefit of
restaurant
doubt,
the
yeah.
benefit of the doubt, always.
Same here.
So the only times I have ever posted anything negative on my social media to my followers, a lot of whom themselves are chefs and restaurateurs, is when I'm eating at a place that is known for its food.
Right.
Specifically, a lot of places are well known, but this is known for its high quality food. And B, if it's expensive as hell.
Okay.
And when I say expensive as hell, I mean like for one person you're paying at least 2,000-3,000.
That's
It could
expensive,
go
yeah.
much higher
Yeah,
than that.
yeah.
But like speaking in Delhi terms,
Yeah.
paying 1,000, 1,500 is the absolute norm, right? So when it's something more expensive than it, when I'm feeling the pinch and I've had an absolutely terrible experience, that is when I get pissed off
And
and
you're
I
like-
take to social media. So far, it's only happened twice with me, once
Okay.
in Hyderabad, once in Delhi.
Okay.
And I hope it doesn't happen more frequently. But I'm someone who eats out a lot as nature of my work, right?
Right,
In order
yeah.
to be able to create good food, I need to know what's out there.
Right.
And I eat indiscriminately
I love
from
how you
all
can
kind of
justify
places.
that.
I know. I have the best
just-
excuse in the world. No, and I eat indiscriminately from all kinds of places. I absolutely adore street food. I will eat at cafes, casual dining. I will spring for fine dining from time to time. So I'm not discriminatory in terms of the kinds of places I eat at. So very often I have bad experiences. I'll have disappointing food. I'll have food that makes me feel a bit sick later. But I never ever take that out on social media or on any of these aggregators, because I've been on the other side. I know the cost of this kind of thing, and I know that there are so many variables involved. But where possible, I like to give feedback and let them know privately
What is it
that
you
this is
actually-
what went wrong. This is where
Right.
you need to work on it.
Yeah, I think that's a great approach to
even I do that. Like
yeah.
I first approach privately only. It's only when like I see ki this is not
कुछ
being
नहीं हो रहा है
corrected.
तो
So
फिर then you're like let's
I
let
take it
let
very
people
personally.
know.
Like there are nights when I get like drunk and I'll eat at a place, and if I don't like the food, I'll end up like sitting down with the owner and like formulating his entire kitchen for the next week, and like reinventing his whole menu and his thing. And like that, this has happened like with me. Like Noida, like I go to this market, Astro Vibe or something. Went at like 8 o'clock in the night after getting drunk. It was 9. The food was so bad, like I couldn't eat anything. Ended up staying with the owner till like 8 in the morning and literally shutting down the kitchen for the next 2 days and throwing everything
Revamping.
outside, revamping the whole thing. Because I think like food and sex are like one of the most personal things that are left to us in this world of complexities and so many things to divert
I
attention
really have a
from.
question in my mind, but मेरे को लग रहा है कि maybe that's not relevant. But okay, how about what if you thought that the food was not great, but it could be the fact that you were intoxicated?
Well, I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
That clouds your judgment.
100%.
Yeah,
And
why
even
not?
your taste buds, your
Yeah.
palate
your
Yeah.
palate is
gets
fine, but
affected.
I mean, I wouldn't just like give myself the benefit of doubt. Ki I'm confused about the fact that it was bad food, and then I'm gonna like say it.
But you are-
it has to be like incredibly
People get
Like,
away
I
from
usually
crime
have the
because they were
opposite.
intoxicated.
No, but I usually have the opposite effect, which is because I'm so drunk, everything just tastes amazing.
Yeah.
at that
Yeah,
point.
exactly, which is
Like,
why
so
I'm wondering.
my judgment gets completely clouded.
Clouded, yeah.
I might have had like a superb meal, and then like 2 weeks later, I'm raving to my friend, and we go back there when
And then
we're
you try
sober,
it.
and then I have to eat crow because the food's actually not good.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah, which is why I thought कि खाना तो अच्छा लगता है ऐसी situation में. But
हाँ,
okay,
बिल्कुल.
okay, maybe it was
खाना
that
अच्छा लगता है,
bad.
but अगर बहुत गंदा खाना हो तो like you can imagine like the happier you will feel like with good food, the sadder you will feel with food like that is like absolutely not palatable.
no, but what
And,
I've
like-
understood is Anshul is Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah.
Because this is exactly what he does on Kitchen Nightmares.
हाँ.
He goes to restaurants, shuts them down, cleans out their fridges and freezers, points out all their problems, revamps their menu.
How does it
So-
feel कि तुम्हें अभी प्रकृति ने Gordon Ramsay बोला है?
I don't think that I can do anything remotely that can be considered as justice in this scenario.
No. Okay.
Gordon Ramsay is like
So-
somebody I really
Yeah,
look
because
up
he's
to.
Gordon Ramsay, he has the authority to do that. to
Yeah.
get into
And-
people's kitchens and
But
be
I-
like, ye galat hai, band karo.
But I behaved like that in scenarios. I can very well like sometimes because I'm like like I have like sort of spent like a great deal of time with these food kitchens with the owners and as well as the staff while doing the consulting, and also so the exposure that I've had is with like people who have like a 15,000 20,000 rupees salary, and sometimes majority of India's Indian curry base comes from Uttarakhand. And these fuckers are like, they like to drink. And
Okay.
when they drink, like, they're uncontrollable. Like,
Okay.
so I've had like scenarios where like one of my chefs has fallen inside a tandoor. And I'm like, I'm supposed to not only pick him up, but also manage the kitchen after that with an assistant.
I'm slightly traumatized right now at the idea, but okay.
New Year's
That
night,
is
my
something.
restaurant, my tandoor chef has fallen
Inside the
inside the kitchen. He can't stand. Some stupid customer usko daru pe lage chala gaya hai, and now I'm supposed to like not only get him out, get him safe space, but also manage like close to 40,000, 50,000 worth of orders that are lined, and like all the KOTs are lying with me. So like I've sort of had multiple scenarios like that, because of which now I feel like if I'm not being ill, if I'm not being personal, if I'm not doing anything, I am leaving some stone in order to achieve that great mix of
There's
whatever
still
that
scope you're
restaurant wishes
trying
to
to
sell.
say.
And that happens across the spectrum.
Right. So I think if I can sum it up, listening to both of you, and it's been wonderful, कि अगर आप खाने के बारे में या खाना बनाने के बारे में passionate हैं, which I think you both fall in the category, then I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that having talent, passion, or even the money, this is not enough. For
Yes.
you to make sure that if you set up a cafe or if you get into the food industry, it's going to be all
You need
roses.
several more factors. You need a great location. You need good luck. You need to be a good manager. You need to have good staff. There's so many variables involved that just having skill, passion, and money
This
is not enough. You need to build on a lot more.
right. And Anshul, what else do you think that someone needs, या फिर skill, talent, passion और पैसा काफी है?
यार ये तो मतलब ये इसकी तो जरूरत ही नहीं है, मतलब honestly अगर मतलब you want
इन
to,
तीनों में से किसी चीज की जरूरत नहीं है if you
I
want to
don't
get
think
into the industry.
in any line of work, and food also included in that, you need talent, or you need to have that personal touch that gives you the level of reflection that you're able to refine something to the point of it being something spectacular.
Conceptualization.
I completely disagree with him because that is what leads to talent. Talent is not something you're just born with.
That's true.
Everybody learns new talents. Everybody
but, like,
hones their
it isn't
talents.
like you need money
If
or
you're
anything.
giving, yeah. But you need some amount of money. Like these are your absolute 3 basics. You need to have passion to
बिना
want to
passion के
open
कुछ,
something.
like how are you?
Like
how
why are
can
you
anyone-
doing it? तुम ये
Yeah.
क्यों कर रहे हो?
Sure, you can
कुछ भी कर
you
लेते
can,
हैं.
हाँ, you can look at it from that angle. I just
Yeah.
meant it like in terms like
कि अगर ये नहीं
know,
भी
like,
है तो भी there are ways for you
there
to
are
make
ways.
this
Your
work.
relationship with food has to really be very, very, very layered in, so that you can truly
That's
become
passion.
हाँ,
No, see, I think where Anshul is coming from is that you could just be passionate about the idea of being in the food industry.
Yeah.
You may not like to cook, or you may not
Yeah,
may not be
absolutely.
a foodie. You just have to be
No,
somebody.
how can you be passionate about wanting to be in the food industry and not be a foodie? Like there has
No,
to
that's what I'm saying. It's
something
possible.
somewhere. Either the social aspect of it. You want to own a place where
Yeah.
you can socialize. So
Right.
even if you don't care about the food, other aspects of it, there's some passion involved somewhere in that equation.
Passion might
right?
not be. What I meant is passion might not be directly towards food, but
Or the
something
industry.
connected to food. Like for
Or
example,
like you said, like it's the societal for
Yeah.
for a lot of people, it could be that it sets them apart
The
from
clout
the people.
of owning,
Yeah.
your own place
Yes.
where you
Yeah.
can call your contacts, your friends over anytime
Right.
they want to meet you.
Yeah.
Like there are people like that.
Yeah.
So
And
passion of some kind.
Right.
some kind connected
Is
to food
involved.
for sure. Like for me, I'm not particularly like when it comes to like being a purist towards food. For me, food is not just like something that I taste, but what I like to do is like when I taste different ingredients, I really like to like taste the ingredients and try to do my guesswork of where did this ingredient come from. Like let's say if it has like a very rich tomato feel, so I know like this is not from, let's say, UP, or this is not from Punjab, or like if it's rice, if it's some form of rice that I'm eating, I'd like to be able to understand that like like food has a lot of history behind it, and once you get to that history, you really are able to like really metabolize things in your head to the level of understanding the history of India. Like if spice root wasn't there, India wouldn't have like had this rich culture and heritage that we talk about. Similarly, I think like the Indian cuisine is like sort of fucked up to a great extent because the number of like the
But
way
how can you say Indian cuisine? I think that
As in the
itself-
cuisines across India, I feel are fucked in his word, but I might have different reasons.
No, like-
He's talking about the quality of ingredients.
quality of ingredients as well as the choice of ingredients, because if I take it if I dial back a few years, what the scene is exactly that the most used ingredients in the Indian
Are not
subcontinent,
Indian.
wheat-
Potato,
wheat, flour, and potato are not just Indian, but they're also
potato, tomato, chili. None of these are Indian
comparatively
ingredients. right?
unhealthy to a great extent.
even chili is not Indian.
Yeah, no.
South American.
Yes. So the strange thing about India is
Really?
a large part of our cuisine today was simply not possible 200, 300 years ago.
Or lal mirch.
Yeah, chili is chili.
Actually.
Yeah,
Damn,
none
so
of this
how
is
did we
Indian.
spice our food then?
No, so we
Spices
had
also-
spices. We had, say, cinnamon, black pepper, saffron.
was-
These are
Yeah.
things that grow in India.
What is
Okay.
in Chinese?
No. Cinnamon grows in
In
India,
India.
in the south of India, in
Yeah.
Sri Lanka. Like these are the areas
Okay.
where cinnamon grows. But the point is, a lot of what we're eating today as a country is not what we were eating 200, 300 years ago.
Oh,
Okay.
I didn't know
So
that.
in the bargain, the sad thing is we've lost the diversity of our crops or of our produce. What is indigenous to us is, say, all the gourds of different tribes.
I was going to say
Loki,
Tori.
etc. Tori,
Yeah.
yeah. All of this is indigenous.
And we
okay.
insult Loki like anything now. I feel
Yeah,
very
no,
passionately
but
about
we
it.
know about Loki, Tori. We know about a few varieties. There are like hundreds that we've lost
Yeah.
Yeah.
over the years because of homogenization of ingredients. Now, the other sad trend in our country right now is homogenization of cuisine. A very sad thing is two soft power cuisines have sort of engulfed the country. Okay. We are otherwise such an incredibly diverse country. Literally, you travel 100 kilometers
And it
and the
changes,
local
yeah.
cuisine would also be so different originally.
Yeah.
Now what's happened is you travel across 5 states, which is what I did earlier this year. I drove from Delhi to Telangana via 9 states. I stayed in Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Goa, Karnataka. Okay, these are all the states I stayed at. I saw the same damn food on my breakfast buffet everywhere I went.
Everywhere. Did you find aloo paratha everywhere?
No, everywhere they serve poha. I'm sitting on a shack in Goa on this empty beach, and then they hand me the breakfast menu. There are 4 items on it, including poi bread, which is a very authentic local Goan
Yeah.
Portuguese dish. And next to that is freaking poha. Why the hell has poha taken over this entire country? Similarly, I'm in Rajasthan and Gujarat. I'm a chef. I want to go eat their local cuisines.
Right.
I want to go have khichda, I want to go have their very authentic Gujarati cuisine.
Yeah.
I'm looking through Zomato, looking at restaurants, and Punjabi cuisine is everywhere.
Taken over.
And these are states which have such a strong culture of their own. I understand
true.
that there are some parts of the country which don't have a strong cuisine of their own, due to historic reasons, societal reasons, soil reasons.
Right.
They don't.
Yeah.
Punjabi cuisine takes over there fair. How can
But
you
then
take over
take over
Rajasthan,
everything. Yeah, that's true,
Gujarat,
yeah.
Maharashtra, Goa?
About a country which goes by the saying, यहाँ पे कोस कोस पे पानी बदलता है और चार कोस पे वाणी. So that is the kind of diversity we have.
Exactly.
Yeah, actually, I remember बचपन में before ये highways होते थे, अगर road trip पे जाते थे, हर actually 100 किलोमीटर में या लंच के लिए एक ढाबे पे उतरे तो वो आलू मटर डिफरेंट टेस्ट करते थे जब like evening में फिर से रुकते थे on the same like traveling through the same route because it's a different
पागल हो
place.
जाते हैं लोग.
And then
दाल मखनी एक आदमी ने पाकिस्तान में बना दी और आज पता नहीं पूरा देश
No,
है,
but then
क्या उड़द की
the
दाल डाले जा
other
रहा है.
cuisine that's taken over is what is referred to as South Indian cuisine.
Okay.
Which there's no such thing.
As such,
There are
right,
5
fair.
states
Yeah.
with like 20 different food cultures.
Right.
No such thing as South Indian food.
Right.
But idli, sambar, dosa, vada, etc.
They've been generalized.
have
yes.
taken over the entire country. I just spent a week in Kolkata and every single day the breakfast buffet had idli sambar on it. One day there was uttapam, one day there was upma. I was like, bloody hell, I'm sitting in Kolkata. I want to eat luchi
Puri
gugni.
aloo, Yeah.
Why? I want to eat kochori with aloo.
Right.
What the heck is idli sambar doing on my table?
That is.
It was
a fair point.
actively pissing me off. And there's something
me,
so
if I-
wrong
Yeah.
with the food culture in our country. It's become so commercial that all these indigenous ingredients, indigenous recipes, indigenous cuisines are dying out. And it's so sad.
It is, yeah. I remember I was in Udaipur a couple of years ago and मैं हर जगह जाके लाल मांस खा रही थी. मुझे कहीं लग ही नहीं रहा था कि I can't get this in Delhi because if I had lal mas in Jaipur a couple of years ago and my mouth was on fire, but that was the fun of
Yeah,
that dish
that's
and I was
authentic.
looking for that. I was there for 4 days. हर दिन lunch में मैंने कहीं ना कहीं लाल मांस ऑर्डर किया, मुझे नहीं मिला. So
ढूंढना पड़ता है आज के टाइम पे
Yeah,
खाना खाने के लिए.
absolutely. To find like the
Wahi ka authentic, yeah, that's-
recipes which are not catering to an outsider, because so often they'll change it,
yeah.
to cater to the tastes of the diverse mass. So they're not sticking to their own authentic
In which
recipes.
They're killing their originality and losing out on the great.
Absolutely. Like,
Gordon Ramsay has covered India better than most Indians have. I can tell you that.
what a shame.
What are your
Great
thoughts? Have you seen?
Escape. Yeah, it was a series that he did, and he covered quite a lot of parts. He went to the Sadhguru's ashram.
Oh.
He covered Moti Mahal. Mein he did a competition, not a competition, but he made a new dish where a lot of notable food critics came. He covered Northeast India with something I think the rest of the India is really
देखते
Yeah,
ही नहीं है कि
absolutely.
like
idea
they
ही है
have
कि
yeah.
वहाँ चल क्या रहा है.
Absolutely.
And
true.
like if you ask
very
them, they'll
true.
have like stupid misconceptions. वहाँ कुत्ता खा रहे हैं, ये खा
हाँ.
रहे हैं, like weird shit like that. इंसान खा रहे हैं, like वही सब बकवास होती है. But like the cuisine is amazing. Like it's so healthy in the first place. Like so protein rich in the
Yes.
like
Yeah?
Extremely.
and, like
I am my knowledge is very
No,
limited
no,
to
so is mine.
exactly
Whatever
India,
little
like,
I've had.
what do you imagine when I talk about like Sikkim food or something like perhaps momos, which is not even something that comes from there in the first place. वहाँ पे
Yeah.
Yeah.
so
वहाँ पे मिलता है,
हाँ.
but
But
वहाँ
it's
का
not
नहीं
from
है.
there. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I totally get
So
that.
Yeah.
it's like that level that our level of exploration has really died down. We are so like like I hate myself, but like I also at times consume just 2 items: a tandoori roti and a dal makhni. But
No, fair
I
enough.
think again we have to talk about demand and supply. Ki
Yeah.
You are having tandoori roti and dal makhni because that is what is most readily available almost her
But
jagah.
it's also you've grown up here.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
been
your feeling
normalized
of
for you कि,
nostalgia.
yeah, कि बाहर
This is
खाना
your
है,
comfort food. That's
अच्छा खाना है, that's
fair.
what. Yeah, so I
You
have
know what is not fair? When I traveled to Vietnam and I was looking at hotel reviews to see is this a good place to book to stay at,
Yeah.
and I was reading the reviews, there are all these reviews by white people saying great hotel, nice room, good service. Breakfast buffet was terrible. Very few continental options or no continental options.
But that's the problem.
And it was pissing me off. I was
Yeah.
like, you are traveling from America or Europe to Vietnam and you want to eat bacon and sausages
Yeah.
and croissants or whatever For breakfast?
That's true.
Why
By
don't
the way-
I come to your country and leave a review? Very nice hotel.
एक भी
No
पराठा
idli
नहीं था.
sambar on the
Yeah.
menu.
By the way, the Indian
completely
restaurants in
get your
Vietnam
anger.
are pathetic. Like, just putting it out
I'm
there.
sorry. I did not go to any
Indian
Indian
restaurant
restaurants.
in
I was
Vietnam.
there for 1 week.
So,
I ate Vietnamese food
Hey,
every day.
I have my excuses. One,
I'm judging you.
No, yeah, I'm judging
I'm a
you big
vegetarian,
time.
so the amount of options that I had to go through were comparatively lesser in comparison to somebody who eats.
That is
Dekho
true.
yaar,
That's true.
I
But you
get
could have
that.
eaten veg banh mi
Yeah.
I did.
and vegan pho and
I
stuff like
did.
that. हाँ तो फिर Indian restaurant तो बिल्कुल I judge people who go abroad and eat Indian food so much.
Yeah.
So much. Like
you know-
people sitting in France eating dosa in little Sri Lanka. I'm like, तुम फ्रांस में आए हो.
Yeah, I get that.
But like, try and understand
But
that give
see-
us the knowledge that Vietnam का Indian खाना बकवास है.
Who is this knowledge helping?
क्या करोगे
किसकी
तुम
जिंदगी
इस
बदल
knowledge
गई
के
ये
साथ?
जान के कि वियतनाम में बकवास इंडियन खाना मिलता है.
No,
Well,
but see,
if
like
ever-
homesickness at some point of time when you're
That's
abroad
fair.
can
You're
drive
living.
you
You're
to
living
your-
abroad is different. You're
Yeah, even if
traveling
you're-
for 1 week, 2 weeks, dude. What is your
Oh, no,
excuse?
I was there for
No.
like 2 months. Like, I'm gonna.
No,
be
see,
like,
I feel that if it's a
I was there
longer,
for 2 months.
अगर तुम्हारा travel plan
हाँ,
लंबा है, you know,
लंबा
like,
है.
कभी ना कभी
फिर बनता है.
you feel that sense of homesickness कि नहीं,
Absolutely.
बड़ा मन
Yeah,
कर रहा है.
absolutely.
And you go walk in there. At least if I am doing that, I am walking in that restaurant knowing fully well कि ये naan is going to taste like rubber.
Rubber.
But that's what I want to have right now.
I was tired of going to restaurants saying anchai, anchai, anchai. Like anchai is like give me vegetarian and Vietnamese, and I was sort of getting tired of that. So I'm sorry, but like the food that I tasted over there, absolutely pathetic. I think like matlab lag gaya
I'm yet to go there
I mean,
to,
even New York
comment.
City, I ate mostly garbage Indian food only. So, because it's catered to white people, right?
Right. Yeah.
So-
Which I
It's
think
going
is
to be-
something that
Like when I would order, I would say,
Yeah.
I am Indian, you can make it spicy. It's mostly still wouldn't be. Like the best food I ate, the Indian food I ate
Yeah.
there during my 1 year there was like the small street food kind of places. Most of the restaurants were catering to white people
Yeah.
and making bastardized Indian food.
I can imagine that would have been brutal. Because yeah, I think I may have
Did
been
this change your life? This knowledge ki even New York में बकवास Indian खाना
नहीं,
मिलता है.
I have a fair idea.
तुम्हें अच्छा खाना चाहिए न्यूयॉर्क में, go to New Jersey, go to Queens.
Yeah, वहाँ पे-
Manhattan में तो ना मिलने वाला.
So I think if we have to sum it up for younger, for those who are hoping to get into the food industry, just because of the passion that drives them, that moves them, and makes them want to have that little cozy space, or you know, sometimes we love to feed people. It gives us a certain kind of joy.
हर माँ का
Absolutely.
यही है, बच्चे से ये नहीं पूछेगी कि बुखार ठीक हुआ नहीं हुआ या जॉब में अप्रिसिएशन आया, भाई ये जरूर पूछते
खाना खाया है नहीं? Yeah.
That's like I treated her my mom. Like she's called me up every day for the last 25, 26, 27, whatever years. Like she's been calling me up, and the only thing that remains constant is खाना खाया नहीं खाया. Like honestly, like come on.
Well, yeah,
man.
that's coming from another, yeah,
But
that place
feeding
of,
food is a form of love.
yeah,
So for some people, opening a restaurant is just about, you know,
Expressing
spreading the
themselves.
love.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing to do.
yeah.
Just please do it knowing what you're getting into with your eyes wide open and making sure you're making a contribution. Like you're not just doing it for the sake of it, you know, you're
Yeah.
doing something meaningful
yeah.
in some way,
Test your passion by doing the grunt work at a restaurant for starters.
for sure.
And then decide whether you'd like to have your own space or not.
Absolutely.
क्योंकि जब जूठे बर्तन धोने पड़ेंगे तो अपने आप वो पैशन ना टेस्टिंग पॉइंट पे आ जाएगा
जाएगा।
कि आई वांट टू डू इट और नॉट.
Okay. I think this was a very fun discussion, guys. Thank you for today. And I think अगर कुछ लोग सोच रहे थे तो वो reconsider कर रहे होंगे अभी, या or maybe you know you're
Yeah,
just going
plans
in with your
badal
eyes
rahe honge.
open.
Just, yeah, a little bit. Tweak your plans.
Yeah. So this is nice, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, let's call it.
अच्छा
क्या हुआ?
मुझे लग रहा था कि इधर कुछ हो रहा है.
हाँ मेरे को शटर की आवाज़ है.
हाँ मुझे शटर की आवाज आई and I was like close it.
तो आप एक काम करो ना, वो वाला कैमरा उठा लो. अब वैसे भी अच्छा नहीं, एक्चुअली जरूरत पड़ेगी
वो
फ्रेम की.
कर लो unless it takes like half an hour. तो देखो
No, no.
मेरा मैं तो अपना टाइम क्रॉस कर चुकी हूँ.
ग्रेट, मेरा थेरेपी कैंसिल हो गया है.
Clearly.
And she's like, how could you do this to me? I was like, oh.
Because you gave her
I'm so
grief.
happy.
Wow.
But you guys
ठीक है,
aren't like friends with your therapist or something like?
No.
You guys are like, what's up? Like,
नहीं.
no, don't talk to me. I was like, come on, I need therapy. I was like, no, I can't.
तू
talk to you.
दोस्त ढूंढ रहा है, therapist नहीं.
No, I just like to trouble her like at 3 in the night or something and ask like weird questions about like how a particular mood is gonna offset a particular mood. No,
Okay.
ऐसा रहता हूँ.
You ask her also how she's feeling.
No.
Okay.
Just
You
about-
just want it to be a one-way relationship.
Yeah.
Okay. So guys, Pragati, can
Are
we
we
just close it?
Okay. Yeah.
Just
I wasn't sure.
Just 2 minutes.
Uh-huh.
So to sum it up, I think some of the people who watch today's episode are either reconsidering or they know what they're, they'll go in knowing fully well कि आप किस direction में जा रहे हो, and probably getting some experience beforehand, having a clearer idea in your head about what your business is going to be like is going to be helpful. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you and thank you Pragati also. Like a lot of my things got validated and a couple of things do suffer from invalidation, but on and all like I am really happy that I got to share it with you like the panel.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. It was so nice to just get this out there, hash it out, vent some long repressed feelings. Felt good, guys.
Yeah, Pragati, it was great to have you. And Anshul, thank you so much for switching places with me.
I do that. I do this all the time. Like, please take over.
ये तो पहला था.
I am much happier like on this
On this
side, on that side than that side because that involves preparation and things. Nah.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, thank you. I think we can wrap it up now. अभी
Yeah.
कितनी और बार thank you बोलेंगे.
Yeah, you can just like talk.
Bang the gavel.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Whoa. Yeah.